Chapter 161, Thunder Palace. On the duelist platform, three holographic harpy ladies stood side by side, their green wings half spread and wicked talons glinting in the light. Behind them, a dark red western dragon lay coiled, fangs bared, staring fiercely at Lucy across the field. After more than a dozen rounds of attacks and counters, Lucy's cards had been wiped from the field. Her life points were down to a pitiful 200. Ah! This is what happens when you face a noble fairy, Evergreen taunted, fanning herself with the card in her hand and laughing openly. Give it up, surrender now, and you won't lose too badly. 4 monsters on the field and a full 3,000 life points versus an empty board and 200. Victory was obvious. Chess, watching the duel, felt Evergreen's triumphant grin was a bit over the top, like she'd been influenced by the theatrics of the card game. What would Lucy do next? Lucy, however, was frowning hard, breath held, sweat beading on her fair brow. This wasn't just any match. What happened here could decide Chess's fate. She knew Chess wouldn't stand by if Laxus continued to brutally harm their guild and friends, and she could not bear to let him or her companions down. The pressure made her dread the next draw. If her turn ended and Evergreen acted first, Lucy would very likely see her life points hit 0. Her trembling hand hung over the deck like an unbearable weight. Those plain, cold cards looked to her like an insurmountable mountain. What's the matter? If you're not going to surrender, draw. If you stall any longer, those stone statues in the guild will be dust, Evergreen urged impatiently. The sweat on Lucy's forehead thickened and the world around her dimmed. In the back of her mind, the deck seemed to slide farther away, as if alive, moving out of reach. Hey, Lucy, don't you trust my deck that much? Chess's voice cut through, bright as a shaft of light that banished the darkness choking her thoughts. In her panic, Lucy caught sight of the fairy tale emblem on the back of her hand. Flashing images bubbled up, playing and arguing with Black Magician Girl, the Black Magician's training plan, the soft little Kuriboh, dozens of moments with card monsters, all of them leading to the one steady figure of Chess. She had formed a real bond with Chess and the cards. That was why she had chosen this deck. I believe in Chess's deck, she said, her fear gone, her hand steady on the cards. My turn. Draw. The card shot through the air in a ribbon of light. Exodia the Forbidden One. It's complete. Along with the 4 in my hand, I've got them all. Lucy cheered, unable to contain herself. Before the duel, she had learned Yugi Muto's deck through the Windsong glasses and had discovered its special win condition. Assemble the 5 pieces of Exodia and win instantly. She laid all 5 cards down. The holographic light on the platform roared to life. From within a rising pentagram, Exodia appeared, towering between the Harpy sisters. A single blast, the magic god flame cannon, cleared the field. Evergreen didn't even have time to react before her life points dropped to 0. Winner, Lucy Hart Filia, the system declared. How is that possible? Evergreen stared in disbelief, collapsing to the platform as her cards scattered. Lucy clenched her fist, a bright smile lighting her face, and turned to Chess. Chess, next, it's your match, right? Come on, I'm so strong now. She had tasted the thrill of cards and wanted another game. Unforgivable, Evergreen spat, fury distorting her features. To insult a noble fairy like that, Evergreen will never forgive you. She stalked off the elevator platform toward Lucy, sliding her glasses down her nose. Since she had lost the chance to win Chess over, she would at least stop him from being taken by the other side. Lucy, distracted by joy, was about to shut her eyes against the petrification spell when a deep blue hand shot into view. Boom. Stone cracked. Chess's 5 fingers spread and clamped on Evergreen's head, slamming her down onto the fractured floor. The blow mussed her hair and blood leaked from the corner of her mouth. She tried to squirm, to use the petrifying glare she was famed for against this unpredictable neutral, but Chess had anticipated that. Attempting to attack a neutral party is a violation of the game rules, he intoned, voice flat. As punishment, Evergreen, you will undo everyone's petrified state. Don't even think about it, Evergreen snarled. Oh, want a star on tomorrow's newspaper like Gajeel? Chess said with an oddly cheerful cruelty. The image of Gajeel humiliated in the tower had the intended effect. Evergreen's rage froze. All right, I'll undo it, she blurted. She complied, and Chess released her. His grin was gone now, gone as suddenly as it had appeared. He would never actually do something as petty as that to a girl, unless he had to. If she'd refused, he would have brainwashed her. For now, he let the matter rest. As Evergreen lifted her spell, the magic panel Fried had built flickered and updated across the guild's display. Makarov saw the message and whirled to the stage. Mira and the remaining petrified members, Black Magician Girl among them, returned to normal. Natsu, who had been pacing, surged forward, ready to fight whoever was responsible. He didn't care who stood before him, beauty, teammate, whatever. He just wanted the strongest battle Fairy Tail had to offer. Makarov's stern rebuke and a long lecture finally calmed Natsu. As Makarov began to coordinate with Mira and the others, the guild's entrance panel updated again. A blood-red skull formed on the screen, and a low, cold voice echoed out. "That damn chess, breaking the rules like that," Laxus's voice rumbled. "But I've made a contingency." "Old man, you didn't think rescuing the hostages would end this civil war, did you?" "Ha! Don't be naive. To keep the game going, I'll use the entire town as collateral. The Thunder Palace has been activated with a 30-minute timer." "Ah!" The laughter made Makarov's heart drop. "Are you insane, Laxus? Setting up something that dangerous in the town?" Thunder Palace was composed of nearly 300 magic crystals saturated with lightning magic. If those crystals weren't destroyed before activation, countless lightning strikes would fall, enough to level a city. "You forced me into this." Laxus snarled through the panel. "Unless you announce, right now over Magnolia's loudspeaker, that I will be the next Guildmaster of Fairy Tail, this battle will never end. Think carefully. You don't have much time." The skull shattered, and the message ended. Makarov clenched his fists. He could never hand Fairy Tail to someone as reckless and extreme as Laxus, not even his own grandson. The thought made him grim. He turned to Mira with resolve. "Mira, you understood what happened. I need you to take on Lidiz's task and summon Porliusica." With the Thunder Palace active, the stakes had risen. They could still trust Chess to help, but they needed contingencies. "I understand," Mira answered. Black Magician Girl raised her hand eagerly. As a neutral but close friend of Mira, she would go with her. "You sure? You'll probably have to fight Fried, just like Lidis did," Mira warned. Fried's current ally was the Black Magician, the very opponent Black Magician Girl feared most. "That's exactly why I have to go," Black Magician Girl declared, eyes bright with battle lust. "It's a rare chance to beat Master." Happy beside her just blinked. "Our blonde girls are really brave today." "Haha, don't worry, I've got a secret weapon Master gave me." The girl giggled, and Mira said no more. A dark purple magic circle flared, and Mira, who had activated a forbidden power, and Black Magician Girl turned into streaks of light and shot eastward into the forest. Kana, Juvia, and others mobilized as well, searching for Laxus's location and working on ways to disable the sky-high lightning crystals. Natsu and Geijiel, still stuck inside, watched everyone leave with smoldering resentment toward Fried and a fierce longing to join the fray. "Since it's text-based magic, I'll try to rewrite Fried's circle," Levi said, approaching. Her plan lit a spark of hope in Natsu and Geijiel. At that moment, the entrance panel updated again. Lucy failed to persuade neutral Chess. "Nah, 2 pieces of good news at once," Natsu cheered. Geijiel snorted, pointing at the panel. "Idiot, look closer. What good news? She failed." "What do you know? If Chess joined us, we couldn't fight him," Natsu shot back. Levi's smile wavered. Regardless of the display, getting Chess on their side when they didn't even know where Laxus was remained a top priority. "If you're scared, hide in a corner when we get out," Natsu mocked. Geijiel takes 2 involuntary steps back at the idea, remembering the crushing defeat Chess had inflicted on him. He tried to play it cool. "What are you talking about? I'm not afraid of him." Levi ignored them both and began analyzing Fried's magic circle. Meanwhile, at Magnolia Cathedral, a creak announced a door opening. A tall figure in a black cloak stepped into the light, a rack of 5 magic staffs on his back. Laxus stood in the center and slowly turned. "Oh, I didn't expect you here," he said with a lazy smile. "Mistogan, stop this foolishness and I'll pretend none of it happened," Mistogan replied, voice calm and cold. "This is the Battle of Fairy Tail." Laxus spread his arms and lightning crackled from his fingers. "Everyone's been wondering who among the younger generation is the strongest, me, you, or Chess. The answer will be me." Have you forgotten about Urza and Mira? Mistogen asked darkly. Those two aren't weak at all. They're too weak? Excuse me. And Mistogen, Prince of Edolus, right? Where did you hear that? Mistogen's pupils narrowed. Where did you hear that? Defeat me and I'll tell you, Laxus sneered. That was all that was needed. Mistogen, provoked at last, stopped trying to reason and activated the staffs on his back. Magic circles collided as cold and lightning met. Mistogen and Laxus launched into battle. Chapter 162, Steel Flame Dragon, the perfect fusion of Dragon Slayer mages. While Mistogen fought Laxus, Mira and the Black Magician Girl had gone east into the forest and, predictably, ran into Freed and the Black Magician blocking their path on the outskirts. A gentle breeze stirred a thin veil of dust and fluttered the clothes of the four who faced one another across the clearing. Stop this, Freed! Many people are already hurt and need treatment as soon as possible. Mira tried to reason with him. You're not the kind of person to hurt your comrades. You know this civil war is pointless, right? Freed's eyes flickered with conflict for a moment. Then he tightened his grip on his rapier. I'm sorry, Mira, but Laxus's will is my will. Whatever Laxus decides, I will carry out to the end, no matter what. This comes before the guildmaster and everyone else in the guild, so I'm sorry. Freed raised his rapier and pointed it at Mira with resolute, unbending determination. If you want to leave, you have to defeat me first. As Laxus's staunchest supporter, Freed's loyalty was absolute. Mira's eyes narrowed. If that's the case, I can only calm you down myself. Dark purple magic power flared from Mira and her elegant burgundy dress whipped violently as she shifted back into her oppressive Satan soul form. Fried traced a forbidden dark script magic circle on himself and glanced at the Black Magician standing beside him with arms folded. The Black Magician understood instantly, turned his staff, and released a matching aura of magic power. Although I don't know how that green-haired brat convinced you, old man, your opponent is me, the Black Magician Girl declared, stepping forward under a soft pink magical barrier. Pride colored her stance. The Black Magician's eyes narrowed when he noticed the dark brown spellbook floating beside her, their master-disciple exclusive magic card, a spellbook that increased both magic capacity and power. Judging from the boost on the card's panel, the Black Magician Girl had already surpassed her master while equipped with it. The strength of a magician isn't only about raw magic power, my foolish disciple, the Black Magician said calmly. We're on opposite sides now, so save your lectures for later. The Black Magician Girl puffed her cheeks and unleashed a flash of pink light from her staff to begin the duel. At the same time, Demon Mira and Dark Fried clashed in the air, engaging in blistering high-speed close combat. Bang, bang, bang. The collisions of magic pounded this sparsely populated area. Roars and explosions echoed across the outskirts, drawing the attention of townspeople who mistook the chaos for fairy tales' over-the-top fireworks. Even the lightning magic crystal, suspended above the sky, looked like part of the spectacle. Back at the Fairy Tale Guild, Makarov sat in a chair, panting, with a bottle of heart medicine beside him. Levy had just rewritten Fried's magic circle. The old man had wanted to rush out like Natsu or Gajeel and teach Laxus a lesson, but his excitement had only worsened his condition. It wasn't fatal, but he couldn't join the civil war. Guildmaster, stay here and be safe. Even if Natsu and Gajeel fail, Chess won't just stand by. Levy tried to reassure him. Makarov sighed. I'm getting old, he admitted. Then he asked, how's Biska? Biska had tried to shoot down the floating lightning magic crystal with her sniper rifle, but had been stunned by the backlash and knocked unconscious. Taking on the Thunder Palace, 300 independent lightning pieces, by conventional means, was impossible. She's not in danger of dying, but she'll need time to recover, Levy said. Her fists tightened as she remembered the scene on the guild roof. Laxus has really gone too far this time. I'm sorry, Levy. I indulged Laxus too much. No, it's not your fault, Guildmaster. At the abandoned factory, Chess sat cross-legged on the duelist platform, eyes half closed, waiting for his next challenger. Since Lucy had left, no one from the guild had come forward. Only a few who were still able to move remained. Boom! The factory door flew open. Damn it, Chess! Hurry up and fight me! Natsu rushed in, excited, but Chess wasn't on the platform. Natsu peered over and called, Hey, young man with the crab haircut, Have you seen a card player who likes playing cards? Before Chess could answer, Natsu's idiocy earned a tired response. Chess slowly stood up and turned. Do you want to see who I am? Chess? Nice haircut, Natsu gaped. Where'd you get it cut? I want one. Mr. Tony's hair salon on South Street 6, Ches replied, smiling. Natsu darted for the door, then remembered his real purpose and shot back. No, that can wait. First I beat you, then I beat Laxus and win the strongest competition, Ches shrugged. Like everyone else, you have two options, battle or play. I choose battle. Natsu bellowed and charged with a fire dragon's iron fist. Chess yawned, raised his right hand, and with one block, one push, and one flick sent Natsu flying like a rag into a heap of abandoned steel. The blow knocked him out cold. That was quick. Evergreen, tied up in the corner, played Lucy's part. Humph, I told you to think ahead. Now look, you've embarrassed yourself. Gajeel entered a moment later, boots thudding. He came to Natsu's side and mocked him. Natsu snapped awake, teeth bared. If you've got guts, you go, he snarled. He said to wait until he finished. Gajeel shot back. A coward like you would pick anything but fighting. Damn fire dragon, you want to die? Come on. If I can't beat Chess, at least I can beat you. Scrap iron. Say that again. Their foreheads bumped as they prepared to fight. Evergreen's mouth twitched. She had really underestimated them. Chess looked up from the platform. If you two want to brawl, take it outside. None of your business, Natsu snapped. Gajeel, however, calmed. Hey, Fire Dragon, set aside our grudge. Completing the Guildmaster's task matters more. We're no match for that monster, he added, eyes on Chess. How about we team up? What? Team up? You said 2 dragons weren't needed in the sky. Natsu scoffed. That's what the blue cat said. I meant the same. Gajeel's fighting spirit flared and his magic power surged. But if the opponent is a god, a small compromise makes sense, right? He'd heard that Chess might wield God-Slayer magic, rarer than Dragon-Slayer magic. The idea of fusing the 2 Dragon Slayers had crossed Chess's mind before, but he'd never had the chance, until now, in the middle of this civil war, with both Natsu and Gajeel present. Fine, but this is just once, Natsu warned. Of course, we'll settle our score later, Gajeel said. Both inhaled and pushed their magic power to the limit. A blue storm and a red storm crashed together and filled the abandoned factory. Just as they stepped forward, the magic they released wavered, pulled into a vortex and funneled toward the center. From beneath their feet, a cool magic circle formed, its intersecting lines shaping the pattern of a magic card. Since you're so worried about the 2 dragons, I'll help. Chess smiled and flipped a card between his fingers. Fusion. Natsu panicked as the sensation of bodily distortion started. Wait, I don't want to merge with this guy. Merge? Me and the fire dragon? Gajeel screamed. Resistance was useless against such absolute magic power. The fusion dragged them into the vortex, and a blinding white light filled the area. Evergreen's pupils constricted as the light faded to reveal a muscular figure. Long hair alternated between black and cherry pink. Iron nails inlaid the brows and the bridge of the nose like Gajeel's. Natsu's scarf hung around the neck. Multicolored coattails fluttered. Twin fairy tale emblems marked both arms. The person stood tall, aura condensed and steady, unmistakably powerful. A voice that felt like 2 spoke at once. Then Najilu burst out, confused and indignant. Ah, it's hot! Did someone turn up the heater? Why is it so hot? Najilu smacked his own left cheek with a backhand. Your body, you idiot, cool down. How could an Iron Dragon Slayer's body not be tough? He snapped, then punched his right cheek. If it gets any hotter, I'll melt. Thump, thump, thump. Najilu kept pinching and slapping himself in a ridiculous attempt to regulate his temperature. The sight was almost comical. Evergreen glared at Chess, fear and awe fighting in her eyes. Chess's face tightened. This wasn't right. 2 Dragon Slayers should make an even more compatible fusion than Natsu and Gray had been, not collapse into a flailing mess. The Ice Flame Dragon had been proof that opposite elements could combine flawlessly. So why this failure? Then Chess's eyes widened as a thought hit him. Najilu's vision shifted. They were in a crimson space where magma flowed and volcanoes spouted. A cluster of blue light drifted through that living hell and sank to its deepest pit. I didn't expect to meet you like this, Fire Dragon King, the blue light said. In the fire glow, huge oppressive dragon eyes opened. Long time no see, Metallicana. So what's the situation? Metallicana's deep voice rumbled. It had been asleep until now and didn't understand how it had appeared here. As you can see, your child and my child have merged temporarily. Igneel exhaled hot air. Seeing the fusion, he suspected Chess had pulled it off. Has human magic really reached this level? Metallicana murmured, surprised. No, I think it's this man's unique ability, Igneel said. He had detected a dragon aura around Chess that even he found frightening. Even you feared a dragon's aura? Could it be Acnologia? Maybe, or something even greater. Igneel's expression turned grave. A god? A god? How could that be? How could a god appear in a human? Metallicana was stunned. As a dragon of the old age, it had heard rumors of gods, terrifying, forbidden beings that could obliterate worlds. I'm not certain, Igneel admitted, but if it's true, the chance of beating Acnologia improves. Igneel roared impatiently. Enough! Wake up and get out of here. Metallicana, annoyed at the abruptness, suppressed its temper and left the magma space. As the two dragons finished, Najilu's discomfort vanished. The fusion crystallized into a fierce, harmonious magic power and climbed higher and higher. Oh, I'm back to life! Najilu shouted as strength surged through him. Are you ready to be beaten to a pulp by the Steel Flame Dragon? Damn you, Chess. Chapter 163, Steel Flame Dragon vs. Chaos Swordsman. Oh, I'm getting fired up. Najilu's voice rang out with a brash, confident flavor that could have been lifted from Natsu and Gajeel combined. He clenched his fists and planted them on his hips in a classic power-up pose. Magic power surged out of him, smooth and fierce, forming a tangible eruption that echoed with a low roar. The energy that bloomed melted the ground beneath his feet and the surrounding iron sheets into steaming streams of molten metal. Flames licked the air, and the temperature in the abandoned factory rocketed upward. The scene faintly recalled Natsu's return to the Grand Magic Games arena after training at the Dragon King Festival. You're already on fire, Evergreen squealed, struggling in her restraints. Tied fast, she watched in horror as the heat began to singe her clothes. Do you want to go home? Chess ignored Najilu's taunt and walked toward Evergreen. She nodded desperately. The next second, Chess gave her a sharp kick. Off you go. Ah, damn you, Chess. I will not forgive you. Her curses turned into a high-pitched scream and then a ding as she disappeared skyward in a swirl of green, sent off in proper guildmate fashion. While dispatching her, Chess also removed the restraints and the dampening on her magic so she wouldn't turn into a puddle on the way out. Hurry up and fight me, Chess. Najilu, bathed in firelight, was already eager. I'd love to see how strong a fused dragon slayer is, Chess replied, but I'm not the one who will fight you. He clapped once, turned his back to Najilu, went to the far side of the duelist platform, and jumped down. Najilu watched, puzzled, as Chess drew a card from the void and tossed it onto the platform. A magic circle flared, a thick crimson mist poured out, and two flames burned through it, revealing an ancient altar carved with crossed swords. The duelist platform began to play a long, dramatic tune, Duelist Soul from Yu-Gi-Oh!, filling the abandoned factory with ritualistic fanfare. Najilu blinked, not sure where the music had come from, when Chess tossed out two more monster cards as offerings. The altar's flames roared. Two streams of light, one black, one white, shot up and braided together, transforming into a swirling pillar of chaotic light that struck down. The colors coalesced into a materialized figure, the strongest swordsman, sword and shield in hand, sliding from the light and opening sharp, intent eyes. Chaos Swordsman, Chess said with a smile. This is the strongest legendary swordsman in my deck. Summoning so many card monsters, Kuribohs multiplying at the same time, drained a tremendous amount of magic power. In the midst of this unsettled internal struggle, asking for a substitute was the safest move. And for the Chaos Swordsman's debut, the Steel Flame Dragon was a perfectly suitable opponent. So this is your trump card, huh? Najilu's ire flared again. Wrong. In the Master's deck, I am only the strongest swordsman, the Chaos Swordsman replied in a low, severe voice. He was serious, a little stiff and earnest. As long as you're the strongest, that's all I care about. Najilu didn't fuss over titles. His steel right fist ignited in crimson flame. With a kick of his feet, he charged at blistering speed. Try this on for size. Steel Flame Dragon's Iron Fist. The dark red firelight exploded outward, shattering the duelist platform floor into jagged pieces. Brutal and direct. The Chaos Swordsman raised his dark aura shield and held firm. Just getting started. Najilu lunged, using the backward spray of flame for extra thrust, driving more force into his punch. The dark shield shuddered under the pressure and edged back a little. The swordsman's expression never changed. He flipped his long sword and unleashed a dazzling slash of holy light. Rumble! The white blade tore through the void and split the duelist platform in two. The severed section flew outward, slammed into the factory's outer wall, and detonated in a spray of firelight. Close one. Najilu snatched his fist back and dodged at the last moment. He felt the thrill of the near miss. Opponent powerful, but that only stoked his fighting spirit. Steel flame sword! A blue and crimson magic circle flashed, and Najilu's right arm transformed into a burning, serrated greatsword. He slashed in from the side. The Chaos Swordsman narrowed his eyes, reverse-gripped his sword, and met the attack head-on. Clang! White holy light and a serrated blade wrapped in fierce fire collided, sparks scattering. Shockwaves rolled outward, shattering the floor under their feet. Good opening. Steel Flame Dragon's wing attack. Najilu swung his left arm. The dragon wing of steel blazed a deep red, unleashed with terrifying destructive force. As expected, your attacks are exactly what I anticipated, the swordsman said. The dark aura swept over Najilu's crimson fire. The Chaos Swordsman's shield proved flawless. Najilu's strike made no progress. Worse, the sword's light and the shield's darkness drew into each other and formed a condensed, chaotic field that shoved Najilu back more than 10 meters. He stomped hard to break his momentum. Using darkness as shield and light as an invincible blade, that was the Chaos Swordsman's creed. Chess crossed his arms, keeping up his own magic supply while he watched them trade blows. Light, darkness, fire, iron. The contest of those four elements gave him a flash of déjà vu from the Battle of the Four Dragons at the Grand Magic Games. Compared to Natsu's high-spirited rout of the Shadow White Dragon, this evenly matched duel promised to be far more thrilling. Najilu himself agreed. The real fight was only just beginning. You're strong, all right, he said, rubbing his aching arm with a grin. After the probing exchanges, he knew the Chaos Swordsman wasn't someone to take lightly. Najilu ripped off his multicolored shirt, baring his muscular torso. Magic power swelled through him, a violent aura crackling as faint reddish-blue dragon scales surfaced across his skin. Gajeel and Natsu could enter a dragon scale form after consuming their magic crystals. Najilu, the perfect fusion of both, was no different, and judging by his power spike, he was closer to true dragon force than either of them alone. Round 2 starts now, Black and White Swordsman? Najilu roared, dragon scales glinting across his face. I don't much like that title, the Chaos Swordsman replied with a frown, but curiosity softened his tone. Still, I want to see what the Master's companion can do. He glanced toward Chess for permission. Chess nodded. The swordsman crossed his sword and shield and held them upright before him. A pillar of chaotic light shot skyward, stirring the clouds and sending tremors through the ground. After a few seconds, the column retracted and settled over the blue and gold armor of the Chaos Swordsman. His high ponytail fluttered. He completed a sublime power-up and stood proud at the center of the chaotic aura, showing his ultimate form to the Steel Flame Dragon. That display was magnificent, but taxing for Chess, who had to keep feeding magic. Normally, with the new cards he'd acquired, Chess could sustain an 8-star card monster, but now he had the Chaos Swordsman plus several other summoned monsters, the Black Magician, the Black Magician Girl, and a slew of multiplying Kuribohs. The strain was like a celestial spirit mage opening every gate at once. It was why the swordsman had looked to Chess for permission before fully unleashing himself. Rumble! While Chess tried to steady his breathing, Najilu and the Chaos Swordsman collided again with terrifying force. The blast from their clash blew the whole abandoned factory to pieces, leveling it. Chaotic light and reddish-blue magic shunted falling iron sheets and concrete aside. Their fight rose from the ruined floor into the wider sky above. Luckily, Chess had picked a dueling ground on the western outskirts, away from the town center. If they'd started here, the shockwaves alone would have caused catastrophic damage. Coincidentally, on the eastern edge of town, Mirenfried's duel with the Black Magician Master and his disciple had heated up as well. Magical explosions dotted the air. Residents of Magnolia stood in the streets, eyes darting between the two spectacular fireworks displays, unsure which to watch. Among the crowd, a blonde girl sprinted along noticeably. "Hey, cute blonde, aren't you new to Fairy Tale? The Harvest Festival warm-up is great this year," a resident called. Normally, having a stranger recognize her as a newcomer would have given Lucy a small thrill, but she had no time for pride. "Yes," she panted, offering a distracted reply as she ran toward the guild. She'd been playing cards with Ches at the abandoned factory and hadn't known about Laxus's Thunder Palace. She just felt the magic crystals high in the sky were dangerous and wanted to get back to the guild to check on things. Thump! Lucy ran straight into an invisible air wall at the corner of the street. "Hiss! That stings!" Purple text shimmered before her eyes and her pupils went wide. Ignoring the ache in her forehead, she blurted, This is Freed's spell?" Footsteps came from ahead and a figure appeared. "Juvia?" Lucy recognized her at once. "Meeting a love rival in the middle of this. What, is this a test from Grey-sama?" Juvia's face was solemn as she stepped forward. "What test? This is clearly Fried's spell." "And what the heck is a love rival? Grey and I aren't like that at all," Lucy snapped, but her denial faltered as the awful implication hit her. If Freed's spell had been triggered, it meant the two trapped people in its area were supposed to kill each other. Her, a weakling, and S-Class Juvia? Chapter 164. New card. Dragon Destroyer Swordsman Juvia, who had long since declared Lucy her greatest romantic rival, seemed deaf to everything else. Water coiled around her as she advanced slowly, face set for battle. Wait a minute, Juvia. Do you know what those things with the lightning marks in the sky are?" Lucy took 2 stumbling steps back, panic in her voice, and pointed up at the ring of magic crystals hovering overhead. "You don't know? That's Thunder Palace. Laxus made it. When it activates, it'll unleash indiscriminate lightning strikes across the town." Juvia's attention snapped upward. Her expression grew grave. "Because our petrification magic was lifted." "You mean the whole town?" Though she had suspected Laxus was responsible, Lucy still covered her mouth in disbelief. "Is Laxus insane?" "Not only that, anyone who destroys it will be badly harmed by the lightning." Juvia mentioned briefly what had happened to Biska. Lucy's pupils narrowed, but then, strangely, her face hardened with resolve. If she could destroy the Thunder Palace and stop Laxus from hurting comrades and townspeople, what did it matter if she got injured? But Happy wasn't here. How could she reach the sky? "The problem you should be worried about now is which of us can even get free of the spell," Juvia said. The water around her swirled more violently as if it sensed her determination. Thinking of Grey-sama, who is terribly hurt and lying somewhere unknown, Juvia is very worried. "Lucy, I'm sorry." With those words, Juvia streamed toward Lucy, transforming into a ribbon of water. Wait. Lucy lunged instinctively to block her, but the water, just before it struck, spun 90 degrees and shot upward toward the lightning magic crystal instead. A splash of water hit Lucy in the face as Juvia's voice drifted away on the wind. "Juvia truly likes Fairy Tale. Everyone smiled and accepted me, even though I used to be an enemy. So even if Lucy is a rival who should be removed, Lucy is still a comrade. Juvia will not fight comrades." Crack! The water ribbon smashed into the lightning magic crystal and split it. A blinding golden bolt of lightning struck back, hitting Juvia directly. Lucy was frozen, stunned by the sight. When Juvia, smoking and badly wounded, fell from the sky, Lucy snapped back and rushed forward, leaping to catch her. Momentum sent them sliding several meters down the street before they slammed into a roadside stall and came to a stop. "Juvia, how are you?" Lucy ignored her own scraped knees and checked her friend urgently. "Lucy, now Juvia can officially be considered a member of Fairy Tale, right?" Juvia's voice was faint. Everyone in the guild had accepted her, but she still harbored guilt for what she'd done with Phantom Lord. "You've been one for a long time," Lucy shouted, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you, Juvia. I'm really happy." After saying that, Juvia slipped into unconsciousness. Far to the west, explosions continued to rip through the sky. Chaos Light and Flame Steel clashed violently, and both the Chaos Swordsman and Najilu were thrown back by the recoil. They flew in opposite directions, mixing the flame of the left hand with the steel of the right, transforming it into molten iron that melts everything. The Chaos Warrior muttered as he steadied himself. A sudden, blistering heat came from behind. Najilu had leapt high with a crimson molten fire orb cupped in his raised arms. Molten iron dripped and steamed, evaporating moisture and leaving a streak of fire as it fell. "Take this, Steel Flame Dragon's Hellfire!" Najilu shouted. A wave of overwhelming heat surged at the Chaos Swordsman, but he did not flinch. He raised his shield, cloaked in endless darkness, to block. Bang! When the molten fire struck the dark shield, it blew into a massive fireball like a gigantic fireworks burst. The blast sent the Chaos Swordsman flying in a streak of light. He crashed hard at the foot of a mountain outside the city, sending smoke and dust billowing. A second later, a Chaos Sword Chi slashed through the dust, tearing the air as it aimed at Najilu. "Ha ha ha! This is how a fight should be!" Najilu grinned. The magic circle enhanced his arms, which had become twin flame swords, and he swung to cleave the Chaos Sword Chi. "Agreed. This one's for you." The chaos flowing light flared, and the Chaos Swordsman used the opening to appear behind Najilu. He slammed his heavy shield into Najilu's face and sent him crashing down. The collapsed building beneath them took another brutal hit. The ground cracked, thick smoke billowed, and spiderweb fissures spread. Nearby, Chess tugged his cloak tighter against the wind and flying debris. The Chaos Swordsman landed beside him, his blue and gold armor showing battle scars and a crack down the center of his shield. "Not bad," Chess said aloud, impressed despite himself. "To hold your ground like this, he's beyond my expectations." He watched carefully. Najilu, as a fusion of an Iron Dragon Slayer and a Fire Dragon Slayer, devoured scrap steel and melted metal around them to replenish his magic. As such a fusion, he could feed on more elements than most. "It tastes awful, but—" Najilu clenched his fists and a surge of power blasted away the smoke. "After eating comes strength." "Master, can you spare more magic?" the Chaos Swordsman asked. Kuriboh reported the other battlefields are basically finished, just at the last stage. Your Chess inhaled, then poured every remaining ounce of his magic into the Chaos Swordsman. "This is my last ripple." Buzz. As the magic flowed in, the damage to the swordsman's armor visibly healed, and his aura snapped back to full strength. "Suggestion: let's settle this with one final, strongest strike." The Chaos Swordsman stepped forward, his eyes blazing. He crossed sword and shield and pointed at Najilu. "I think so too." Najilu grinned, drawing in power and igniting his own aura. Magic circles of intertwined light and shadow appeared on the swordsman's weapons. In front of Najilu, a red and blue magic sigil pulsed. "Creation and destruction. Chaos annihilation," the swordsman roared. "Steel Flame Dragon's exploding breath." Najilu shouted back. Rumble. The collision of their ultimate attacks detonated with an earth-shaking roar. The abandoned factory and the surrounding area were leveled. They had tacitly limited the blast, so the wider town wasn't completely destroyed, but both fighters took the backlash. One dispersed into points of light and fragments, the other's fusion dissolved entirely. "If we get the chance, we'll fight again," the Chaos Swordsman said, giving a last look toward the scattered forms of Natsu and Gajeel before returning to his card deck with a satisfied smile. "That guy's absurdly strong." Gajeel lay on his back, heaving, and cursed. "Damn it, I couldn't even land a hit on that chess!" Natsu, equally exhausted, pouted, and then looked over at Gajeel with a half grin. "Hey, scrap metal, you weren't so bad." A bright smile broke across the Sakura-haired boy's face. "As a comrade, I acknowledge you." Through their fusion, Natsu had felt Gajeel's desire to belong to Fairy Tail and his gratitude to the old man and the others. Natsu's old defenses evaporated in the face of that sincerity. What are you talking about, you idiot? In my eyes, this guild is just a workplace." Gajeel barked, blushing at having his inner thoughts exposed. "Also, our score's not settled yet." "Of course," Natsu shot back. "If I could move, I'd beat your face until it swelled, like I did Gray." Chess stood quietly nearby, unusually not joining in the teasing. Behind his indifferent eyes, a flicker of excitement burned. In his consciousness space, a new card slowly rotated. Chess had not expected a drop from the fusion of a Dragon Slayer and the appearance of the Chaos Swordsman, but a card had appeared. Even more astonishing, it had a special trait, an attack effective against dragons. In a world where giant dragons reigned, this was a super powerful find. The card face flipped. A 7-star panel revealed itself, and the name read, Dragon Destroying Swordsman, As fellow physical attack swordsman, the dragon-destroying swordsman was technically a tier below the chaos swordsman in raw stats. But when you factor in monster effects, everything changes. Leaving aside the gods Chess knew little about, the strongest creatures in fairy tale were undoubtedly dragons. Whether it was the 5 dragon gods or Acnologia with his absolute magic immunity, dragons were future enemies that couldn't be ignored. Even an ordinary dragon posed a catastrophic threat to fairy tale and Magnolia. So when summoning the Sky Dragon was difficult, a swordsman with an anti-dragon effect like the dragon-destroying swordsman became invaluable, at least as another option against dragons. On top of that, the dragon-destroying swordsman could fuse with the Black Magician to form the Super Magician Swordsman, a creature of even greater destructive power. Unfortunately, Chess had already learned that fusion summoning was a kind of special summon and required the corresponding fusion monster card to be obtained first. Still, now that the dragon-destroying swordsman had appeared, how far behind could the Super Magician Swordsman be? For the moment, things were relatively safe. As long as he didn't go looking for the 5 dragon gods or Acnologia, there was time for quiet development. Chess's thoughts were interrupted by the piercing crack of electricity echoing overhead. He looked up to see the thunder magic crystals high in the sky beginning to charge. The arcs of light linking them lit up all of Magnolia. Because of his intervention, Natsu and Gajeel hadn't clashed with Laxus as they had in the original timeline, and his neutral role in the guild's civil war had altered other events, so the Thunder Palace hadn't been destroyed prematurely. Time, it seemed, was running out. Chess dusted himself off and walked toward Natsu and Gajeel, who lay arguing among the rubble. The exact workings of the dragon-destroying swordsman and the contract would have to be researched later. Right now, the priority was beating Laxus and ending the civil war. "Damn it! We have to get Chess to beat that bastard Laxus," Natsu said, hands on his knees as he struggled to stand. He'd noticed the crystals in the sky growing more violent. "Hey, Chess, we still have the option to play cards, right? Although I think our chances of winning are even lower than fighting, that's all we can do," Gajeel added, pushing himself up with wavering legs, his eyes set with resolve. Chess stopped in front of them and pointed to the ruined platform. Unfortunately, the platform for playing cards has been blown up. "Nanny?" Both dragon slayers reacted instantly, clutching their heads. They'd been ready to show off their card skills. "Actually, whether we play cards or not doesn't matter, because now I'm on your side," Chess said. Gajeel's face lit up. He wasn't about to ask why Chess had suddenly switched. A man as monstrously strong as him fighting on their side was all they could ask for. Natsu, however, immediately protested. "But even if the two of us team up, we didn't beat you. Are you an idiot? Who cares about the reason?" Gajeel snapped through his jagged teeth. "I never said you had to beat me." As he spoke, a magic circle flared beneath Chess's feet. He held the Super Z stamina enhancer in his palm, and after drinking the strange-colored potion, raised a finger and smiled. The courage to challenge an opponent you know you can't win against is valuable, so choosing to play cards requires you to defeat me, but choosing to fight means whoever accepts the fight wins. This wasn't a last-minute decision. It was a rule he'd set long before he'd come into the Civil War as a neutral party. Unfortunately for most challengers, Lucy, Evergreen, and others had all chosen to play cards. And really, the rule favored those who would hesitate. Only someone as straightforward as Natsu would automatically choose battle. Gajeel grumbled that Chess should have let Lucy do it if he'd known, and Chess retorted that he thought Natsu and Gajeel were no different from Lucy, a remark that immediately set them off yelling. Chess ignored them, tossed the empty bottle aside, and took a step forward. A magic circle flashed on his right arm. He knew what Laxus planned, and before fighting the man he intended to stop the Thunder Palace, it threatened the whole town. Dark golden magic flared, converging on the summoned right arm of the sealed one. Natsu lunged, alarmed. "Wait, Chess. Master said those things are useless unless they're completely destroyed, and destroying one will mean terrible backlash." "The fire dragon's right. This is too dangerous," Gajeel added. With Makarov ill and most of the guild incapacitated, if anything happened to Chess, there would be no one left to stop Laxus. "Dangerous? That's just what you think, Chess said calmly. Under Natsu and Gajil's shocked gazes, Chess punched the Thunder Palace in the sky from a distance. His heavy fist struck a dark golden magic circle, and light exploded outward, revealing a magic card, Spreading Wave. It expanded a magic attack from one target to all entities judged as enemies. The more targets it hit, the more magic power it consumed. Because of its area effect, Chess usually used it as a mini fairy law to clear out small fry. The thunder magic crystals were powerful, but not very durable. Lucy could shatter one with a single whip, so they wouldn't drain him too much. Crucially, anything destroyed by Spreading Wave could not activate its effects, making it the perfect counter to the Thunder Palace. Under the card's enhancement, dark golden energy rippled out from Chess's fist in all directions. Wherever the fist whined past, the thunder magic crystals exploded, one by one, like dazzling fireworks. The spectacle drew crowds of onlookers who stopped to watch, calling it yet another fairy tale show. Natsu and Gajil stared at Chess, dumbfounded that none of the lightning had struck them. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Forest's scarred battlefield, the Black Magician and the Black Magician girl pulled back after a fierce clash, returning to Freed and Mira's sides. Freed was exhausted and badly wounded, barely standing. Mira had been forced to drop her demon form and was simply out of magic. Fried, Master is preparing to join the battle. Our cooperation ends here, the Black Magician said, looking at the destroyed Thunder Palace. So Chess finally couldn't hold back, huh? Fried's expression was complicated, somewhere between relief and resignation. When he'd heard Laxus was starting a civil war, he'd felt torn. Attacking his comrades went against him. Facts, the appearance of the Thunder Palace had only heightened that conflict. Perhaps letting Chess stop Laxus was for the best. It's all right. I enjoyed fighting by your side, Freed said. The rune thesis I promised you will have to wait until this is over. If I can still be in the guild, he began. Then his body gave out and he dropped to his knees. Yay! Mira, we won, the Black Magician girl cried, clenching her fists. Despite the boost from her exclusive magic card, she'd been nearly beaten to death. Mira nodded, a relieved smile breaking out on her face. With Chess acting now, the civil war could be ended ahead of schedule. Let's go, idiot apprentice! Yes, master! They transformed into streaks of dark and pink light and flew toward Chess. Elsewhere, card monsters answered other summons and disappeared from their original locations. At Magnolia Cathedral, thunder boomed and lightning tore through shattered stained glass. Urza, clad in Lightning Empress armor and wielding the Lightning Empress spear, her twin ponytails whipping in the wind, had just run through the streets. She dealt with Bixlow on the way and followed the commotion around Laxus and Mistogan. Mistogan had been distracted by her arrival, and Laxus had knocked his mask off, revealing a face identical to Jelal's. Seeing what that face meant to Urza, Mistogan had fled. What had just exploded? Who had destroyed the Thunder Palace? And what was Mistogan? Urza frowned, her thoughts in knots. Lightning crashed again, and she raised the spear to form a protective shield against the attack. Damn Chess, breaking the rules of the game again. Laxus, bathed in lightning and seeing the Thunder Palace obliterated, was bloodshot with fury. Magic erupted from him like a volcanic blast. Fangs of a dragon materialized in his mouth. His upper body bulged with muscle, and on those muscles, the scales of a dragon slayer appeared, the kind only second-generation dragon slayers had. Laxus, are you? Urza's pupils narrowed. A calm voice behind her answered. Urza spun and saw Chess, and couldn't help but smile with relief. Chess? Urza, leave the rest to me, Chess said. He didn't explain. He stretched and walked toward Laxus, dark golden magic seething around him. Urza dispelled her armor and silently stepped aside. Chess, where did you hear that news? Laxus asked coldly. He'd never told anyone, not even his teammates, that he was second generation by consuming a Dragon Slayer magic crystal. Makarov's incessant nagging was the only reason he'd kept it hidden. Does it matter? Chess stopped short. All I care about now is grinding you to dust. Laxus roared and unleashed his lightning without restraint. Then let's begin. The strongest battle in fairy tale. Chapter 166, Collision of Dragon and God, Chess versus Laxus. Hey Chess, I heard you can counter a god's Godslayer magic? Laxus took a step forward and the raw force of his power smashed the church floor. Golden arcs of electricity exploded outward like a declaration of war, thunder rolling and wind howling so hard, Chess's dark blue cape whipped wildly. Many guild members had seen the Sky Dragon Phantom during Chess's last battle with the Ice Flame Dragon Nagres, so Laxus's knowledge wasn't surprising. Chess stood with his arms crossed, rooted in place, dark golden magic coiling around him to resist the thunderstorm. Urza, who had fallen back, narrowed her eyes and watched Chess's back closely. Compared to the collision of profound magic she'd been expecting, she found herself oddly fascinated by his uniquely styled crab-like hairdo, how it could thrash in a hurricane and still keep its shape. She made a mental note to ask him later what hairspray he used. As always, the Fairy Queen's thoughts ran in their own peculiar direction. "What do you mean by this?" Laxus asked, one brow lifting when he saw Chess withdrawing his magic instead of entering a godslayer state. Now would have been the perfect moment to strike, maybe even kill him with a single blow. But Laxus didn't want quick death. He wanted to crush Chess outright and seize the title of Fairy Tale's strongest by force. "We can't go all out in the city. How about the outskirts?" Chess suggested with a smile. The slice he and Urza had exchanged earlier had already done massive damage. If he and Laxus truly went berserk, half of Magnolia would be rubble. Besides, the Harvest Festival and Magic Parade still had many tourists in town. A proper fight, Chess thought, should be fought without holding back, fists landing on faces, not timid sparring. You always come back with a grand entrance and wreck the city, yet you act like that old man, caring about the weak so much. Laxus's pale eyes flared with anger. "That's what I hate most about you, Chess. So, praise or criticism?" Chess spread his hands, a little bemused. "Either way, I refuse your ridiculous and boring proposal." Laxus dropped the pretense of conversation. Lightning flared around him, and he surged forward at blinding speed, forcing Chess's hand. Boom! Thunder cracked as the church tiles shattered, and black scorch marks clawed at the walls. "Chess!" Urza cried without thinking. When she looked up, Laxus's fist hovered mere millimeters from Chess's face. Chess remained calm. He slowly raised a hand. "I surrender. You win. From now on, Laxus, you're the strongest in Fairy Tale." "You what are you doing?" Laxus exploded, lightning mixing with his roar. From the start, he had seen Chess as his greatest rival and expected him to submit, just not like this. To Laxus, if he couldn't crush him utterly, the title meant nothing. For a man proud and boastful as he, any humiliation was intolerable. "All right, isn't it just the outskirts? Fine, I'll go with you." Laxus's jaw worked. He relented, veins throbbing in his temple. "But don't you dare make up some other ridiculous reason to avoid a real fight." "Ha! Save your worries about excuses for later. Worry about keeping your face," Chess said, grinning. He pointed to the church door with a casual invitation and strolled out onto the street. Laxus snorted and followed, displeased but moving. As they left the cathedral, the killing intent that had filled the place faded. Urza stood frozen for a moment, blinking in disbelief. That Laxus actually followed so obediently? Even though Chess had been the one to surrender, she couldn't shake the feeling that Laxus was somehow under his control. A resigned chuckle escaped her. With the battlefield moving to the outskirts, the immediate threat to the town and guild was already lessened. She quickly changed into her nurse outfit and began looking for the injured. Chess was trustworthy, and she had no intention of interfering. If she tried to get between those two, she'd likely be battered by both. On Magnolia Main Street, dark golden and golden magical auras opposed each other, smashing and tearing up the pavement. The crackling electricity and spiraling winds left a trail of destruction. It was a warm-up to warn the curious to keep their distance. Locals knew Chess's rules. Tourists didn't. Would the damages be covered by Chess's small treasury? Urza made a mental note to ask later. "Honestly, I never understood you. With the power you have, how can you put up with that bunch of useless people?" Laxus said in a low voice once they were walking, having cooled off a bit. Chess walked at a steady pace, eyes forward. "A guild isn't a harsh natural law where only the strong survive. A guild is people you can trust your life with. Laugh together, work together, cry together. That's Fairy Tale." "Dumb ideals like that, old man. Do you know how others see us? We're a joke. I don't share the guild master's tendency to laugh off insults." To their faces, Fairy Tale should be so strong, others won't dare mock us, behind our backs or otherwise. That's my ideal guild. A guild built only on might is brittle. Unbreakable bonds and belief are the true strength of a group. In the face of absolute power, that kind of thing is worthless. If you want, tour Kiltina Continent and the neighboring West Continent. Then you'll see how ridiculous that view is. Don't worry. After I beat you and take the Guildmaster's position, I'll make Fairy Tale's name feared across the world. Chess shook his head and fell silent. Laxus, filled with, I am the strongest, wasn't the sort to be swayed by words. He preferred convincing people physically. The two kept walking in tense silence and soon reached the empty outskirts. The cold wind kicked up sand that stung their faces, making both their cloaks and Laxus's leather flaps snap and flutter. Let's finish this fast. I still have to prepare for the magic parade tonight, Chess said, shrugging his cape off with a backhand to reveal a strong, well-toned torso. I remember you like to use buff cards, right? Laxus, irritated but no longer rushed, smiled with arrogant confidence. I'll give you time to prepare. Chess lifted his chin and returned an equal smile. I don't need those cards to beat you. You! Laxus snapped. He erupted in a roar as countless streaks of lightning coalesced around him, forming a golden battlesuit that crackled with energy. The lightning battlesuit concentrated his magic throughout his body to boost attack, defense, and speed, perfect for crushing an opponent quickly. Raging Volt, bathed in golden light, Laxus struck first. His right arm drew back, and a bolt of condensed lightning hurled toward Chess. At Chess's fingertips, a magic circle flared. As a card flipped, a dark tornado formed with the power to shred opponent magic. The tornado swallowed the oncoming current and annihilated it. Nearly at once, a dazzling bolt slipped from the tornado's side and shot for Chess's back. He narrowed his eyes and elegantly avoided the strike with a few quick backflips, but the lightning anticipated his moves, bending impossibly to arrive above him. Laxus burst from the storm, his leg launching with arcs of electricity. Boom! The heavy stomp slammed into the ground, cracking the earth and sending gravel and grit skyward. Laxus frowned. This feedback felt nothing like hitting a human body. It was more like buzz. Light scattered the dust, and he realized he'd stepped onto a trap. Card. A magic circle had activated under his feet, golden lines crossing at his waist into a hexagon. He readied to blow through the restraint when the ground behind him trembled. A huge shadow descended, rocks rolled, and a stone giant soldier emerged, cold and slow, drawing twin greatswords from its shoulders. Laxus smirked. Setting traps isn't a move only you can use. His remark cut off when Chess, who had landed opposite him, found a lightning magic circle glow under his own feet. A thundercloud flickered overhead, and a terrifying bolt struck in sync with the stone giant's twin sword swing. Boom! Rock and lightning exploded together, whipping sand and dust into the air. Then Chess and Laxus broke free of their restraints and surged toward each other. Bang! Electric arcs and a dark golden sealed wrist collided with earth-shattering force. Chess roared low as the sealing iron chains on his right wrist rattled. His deep magic erupted, shoving Laxus back through the lightning. The opening lasted only a breath. Laxus used the momentum to gather magic. Lightning bullet! Several orbs of lightning spit out, blocking Chess's charge and detonating in small explosions. Laxus was surprised. Chess's physical power had increased dramatically since their last meeting. He'd assumed battle readers needed to watch Chess's cards, not his raw strength, and in that misjudgment, he'd been caught off guard. Dust and debris swirled, and Chess stood unharmed amid pits and craters. The lightning orbs had done nothing. Your card tricks are useless against me. Warm-up's over, Laxus growled. Dragon patterns flashed across his arms as he entered his strongest Dragon Slayer form, his magic feeding into muscle and speed. Let me see what so-called god-countering magic can do, he laughed, eager for blood. As you wish, Chess replied. He drew in a breath, and dark golden magic surged, deepening into a heavy crimson. Dark red dragon scales sprouted along his face, chest, and arms. His aura climbed, gathering into a sky dragon phantom, vast and imposingly calm. The very power leaking from him made the ground tremble. Sand and stone flew in a chaos that, with the opposing thunder and lightning, made the area seem like an apocalypse. Ha ha! This power! No wonder you're my true rival, Laxus cried, thrilled by the danger. Will the dragon's talons tear the god apart, or will the god's radiance pierce the dragon's wings? Let's see. Lightning flashed, and Laxus vanished from sight. He reappeared in an instant before Chess, trailing a storm of electricity, right fist cocked. Chess held his ground and raised his left arm to meet it. Crackle! The impact exploded outward, crushing the ground beneath Chess inch by inch. Thunder detonated behind him, threatening to shatter the area. Chess gritted his teeth, the faint outline of Sky Dragon claws forming on his fist. Sky Dragon's iron fist! The punch smashed through Laxus's lightning suit and struck his abdomen with brutal force, sinking deep into solid muscle. Laxus rocketed backward like a streak of light and smashed into a mountain range hundreds of meters away. Lightning tore through the rolling rocks and smoke as he flew back. Then he came at Chess even faster, stomping down on Chess's crossed arms with a vicious kick that sent Chess flying in turn. With lightning magic granting him blistering mobility, Laxus could even transform into raw lightning to pursue Chess in midair. Hovering above, fists raised as lightning screamed, he bellowed, "If you're capable, take this!" Lightning Dragon's jaw. The crushing strike fell like a comet, blasting into the earth and carving a huge, charred crater. Laxus peered down into the deep pit where golden arcs of lightning danced. A giant shield leaned at an angle, its cracked surface split open, and below it, Chess stood unharmed. "The shield of the giant guardian," Laxus said at once, recognizing the thing that had taken his heavy blow. "Didn't you say you wanted me to try that move of yours?" Chess pushed himself up slowly from the lightning and stretched. Seeing his casual, almost relaxed posture, Laxus's voice turned cold. "So you could have actually dodged? Of course. It's not like I haven't fought mages faster than you." His eyes narrowed. A violent surge of magic power boiled up from him. "For example, you won't be able to dodge this one." The sealed one's right arm, an artifact strapped to his limb, slid free, and under the influence of Sky Dragon Godslayer magic, it burned with a fierce crimson glow. With the preparation complete, Chess stomped his foot, clenched the arm into a fist, and swung it through the air at the midair Laxus like a cannonball. The crimson arm streaked past with terrifying speed, filling Laxus's field of vision in an instant. Laxus didn't flinch. His body shifted into lightning and barely slid past the crimson blow. "I have to admit this move is fast, but swinging it right in front of me like this, aren't you? What?" His words cut off as his pupils constricted. A trap card, teleportation magic circle, flashed, and Chess's figure vanished from below. Where the crimson arm should have missed, the arm itself remained. Then Chess reappeared at the arm's original position, directly above Laxus. Sky Dragon's thunder stomp. A godlike aura erupted. Chess's raised right leg left behind a phantom dragon claw and came crashing down from above. Laxus froze. He was too close to turn to lightning and evade. His only escape was sealed by the crimson arm rising from below. With no other choice, he bellowed and unleashed a violent web of lightning to defend himself. Boom! The two attacks struck the lightning simultaneously. Amid the shattering electric arcs, Chess twisted his waist, channeling all his power into his right leg. After a brief stalemate, the booted foot broke the lightning and slammed into Laxus's face, sending him flying in a fiery explosion into the distant mountain forest. "I told you, there's no way you could dodge this," Chess said, landing with a flourish and smoothing his hair as if nothing had happened. Laxus's face showed the result, blood at the corner of his mouth and a noticeably puffy cheek where a shoe print was clearly imprinted. "Oh dear, Master Laxus, didn't I tell you to protect your face before the fight?" Chess laughed, unable to hide his amusement. "Go to hell!" Laxus roared. Mocked into a fury, Laxus's muscles swelled and sparked with gold lightning. A violent aura wrapped in tearing winds and electricity surged outward. Chess's smile faded. Even without amplifying himself with the all-magic card, a full-powered Laxus was oppressive and dangerous. Still, Chess didn't back down. He matched the surge with his own magic power, meeting Laxus head-on. They vanished and reappeared facing each other. Godslayer magic met Dragonslayer magic like colliding comets. Shockwaves radiated in all directions, shaking the surrounding ruins. The ground, by their clash, crumbled away. In the eye of the storm, Crimson Fist and Lightning Fist collided, each refusing to give. "You're just a guy who joined the guild a few years ago, Chess. I could beat you 2 years ago. I can still beat you now." Laxus spat out between clashes, clenching his other fist. If you can, then try, Laxus. Chess shot back, his own fist wrapped in the Sky Dragon's phantom claws. They abandoned words and decorum. With a tacit agreement, they both swung into a relentless, almost savage exchange, punch after punch delivered with pure intent. For both of them, talking had failed. What couldn't be expressed in words would be shown through blows. It was the brutal language of comrades and rivals, the way men of fairy tale often settled a point. Fist winds howled and impact after impact tore the air. Up close, every strike left marks, cuts and bruises across faces, chests, and abdomens. Blood spattered and flashed like proof that this was no ordinary duel. Lightning roared as Laxus's battle-hardened physical prowess began to overwhelm Chess, who had only recently adopted Godslayer power. After hundreds of blows, Chess found himself pushed back by the explosive force of Laxus's heavy lightning punches. Laxus advanced, pressing the advantage, intent on finishing things before Chess could recover. Then, a magic card spun lazily in midair, catching Laxus's eye. A moment later, a magic circle flared and 3 giant, wholly glowing swords descended from the sky, releasing a binding spell that pinned Laxus in place. Chess seized the breath of time, wiping blood from his mouth. He truly was the old man's grandson, his magic power so vast it needed to be sealed with Dragon Slayer magic crystals. He had reason to be arrogant. In raw power, the rebellious Laxus, who had not yet undergone his new life, was almost on par with Jalal of the Saint Ten. Thankfully, Chess had acquired new cards after the Tower of Paradise. That boost had tipped the scales in his favor this time, even without using the all-magic card. "But I had to get my point across, right?" Chess said, looking up at Laxus straining against the constraints. Laxus roared in response. "Do you think this little toy will trap me?" he bellowed, and in his eyes blazed the resolve to break free. Not enough yet, then he would press on. Chess pinched the void between 2 fingers, aimed at the struggling Laxus, and revealed a card. In the red magic circle, dark yellow bone wings unfurled, and a cursed dragon burst forth, its gaping maw roaring with hellfire. Laxus had just shattered the light sword when an overwhelming inferno engulfed him. Wherever that dragon fire passed, the ground caught and burned. Because it's real dragon fire, it must be hotter than Natsu's half-baked stuff. But, he thought, he raised his head with arrogant contempt. It makes absolutely no difference to me. Golden lightning cracked into being, forming a barrier that shoved back the cursed dragon's hellfire. Instantly, the sky and earth filled with towering flames and thunder. The surge of magic made the scene purgatorial. Laxus's chest swelled, his eyes flashed with violent lightning, and his cheeks puffed as he prepared to strike. Lightning dragons, roar! When he opened his mouth, a blazing beam of lightning launched out, tearing through the cursed dragon at the heart of the hellfire. The destructive bolt shot toward Chess. Calmly, Chess flicked out 2 cards. The Black Magician and his disciple materialized and took a position in front of him. A dark and a purple staff crossed, drawing a black magic circle. The lightning dragon's roar crashed into that dark purple circle like a river hitting rock, splitting into 2 branches and forcing their attacks aside, exploding toward the mountains behind. Boom! 2 thunderous impacts rocked the ridgeline. The mountaintops had been blown away. One dared not imagine what would happen if that beam struck a town. Laxus had held back when he fought the twin dragons in the original timeline. Chess, thinking this over in his head, gave a slight nod to the Black Magician and his disciple. They understood instantly. Light gleamed on their robes as they fearlessly advanced to intercept the lightning dragon's roar, pointing directly at Laxus. Sensing the maneuver, Laxus cut the roar's output to seize the initiative. "Don't get in the way! You're not my target!" Lightning flashed, and Laxus blinked into position in front of the 2 mages. His wide, electrified palms closed on their faces, one in each hand, and he slammed them to the ground. In the instant before impact, both magicians dissolved into streaks of light that shot toward the roiling black clouds above. The gem-topped staff spun as the Chaos Black Magician descended from the sky and fired a dark sphere of magic straight at Laxus. The pitch-black orb, full of chaotic power, struck and wrapped Laxus, trying to imprison him. He roared. Golden lightning leaped wildly as he fought the collapsing chaos around him. Bang! An iron-red fist tore through the void and hammered into his chest. A gale whipped up, blowing his crab-like hair to reveal the glint of sharp eyes beneath. Card magic and Godslayer magic can be used together, Chess shouted, swinging his arm with everything he had and sending the astonished Laxus flying. Blood spewed from the corner of Laxus's mouth, but he forced himself to stabilize his flight with magic, turning into a streak of lightning and leaping for the high sky. Chess and the Chaos Black Magician gave chase. Crimson, dark, and golden streaks collided above the town, their rapid dueling traced in 3 colored afterimages. Explosions echoed through the air, and even the residents of Magnolia could feel the shockwaves of raw magic. "Is that Chess and Laxus's real power?" Lucy whispered from a distance, staring upward. "So terrifying." "After all, those two are monsters," Urza said grimly. Around them, the bandaged members of Fairy Tale watched dumbfounded. A few skulked at the back, Kana, Macau happy, already distracted by their favorite pastimes. Natsu and Gajeel grumbled about the earlier antics in their fusion. Juvia hovered in a dark corner, heart-eyed over shirtless gray. Mira, frowning, leaned toward Makarov. "Guildmaster, Levy said your heartbeat acted up again after I left. Is it serious?" "Don't worry, I'm better after taking the medicine," Makarov waved, though his eyes never left the duel. The situation had escalated beyond simple quarrel. He was already considering how to deal with Laxus after the Civil War ended, an uncomfortable but necessary thought. High above, under the twin onslaught of Chess and the Chaos Black Magician, Laxus was steadily yielding. His face was swollen, blood ran freely, several ribs had snapped. The weakening effect inherent to Sky Dragon Godslayer magic gave Chess the advantage in prolonged combat. Laxus felt himself slipping. He forced himself to push past his limits. "I can't lose. The title of strongest is mine. Fairy Tale is mine." "Lightning dragons, crushing fist," he roared. Thunder detonated as he stomped forward, blasting Chess back and sending him crashing to the ground, kicking up a crimson storm of debris. The Chaos Black Magician saw Chess readying a counter and spun his staff to meet Laxus's burst, even as the lightning fist tore the Chaos Mage apart and sent him back into his card deck. On the ground, Chess's magic reached its peak. The towering phantom of a sky dragon coiled behind him, maw-bared with ape-like fangs as it exhaled a thick, materialized mist. Godslayer's secret art, Breath of God, superconductive wave. A terrifying, concentrated beam of energy ripped space apart and screamed toward the airborne Laxus with no room to dodge. Electrical arcs danced as a sacred light burst, blanketing the sky. The overwhelming roar didn't last long. The light dissipated and the storm subsided. A figure, wolf or fox-like, fell headlong from the heights. Laxus tumbled down, cloaked in black smoke. His pupils were blown wide, his chest heaving, his magic reserves were drained, and he couldn't fight. Lucy and the others exhaled, believing the battle decided. Then an abnormality occurred. Maybe in freefall he caught sight of his comrades, weak, useless as they seemed, and was suddenly stirred. Maybe he simply refused to accept defeat. His eyes bloodshot, Laxus opened his mouth and made a chewing motion, lips parting in a grin that showed his teeth. Swoosh, 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 the crimson electrical arcs still lingering in the air seemed to be drawn to him, gathering and flowing into his throat. Ha, ha, ha. As expected, after draining my magic, I can eat this electrified stuff. This lunatic, he was actually eating the residual energy of the superconductive wave. Laxus crashed to the ground, a red light flashing in his blind pupils. Electric arcs danced across his skin, and beneath the deep gold of his lightning, there was now a faint, dark crimson. Chess's Godslayer magic could instantly kill weak opponents. Even those too strong to be killed outright had their attacks forcibly weakened. This stemmed from the Sky Dragon's divine technique, summoned lightning, an authority that transcended ordinary power. Back when they'd been exchanging blows, Laxus had felt an invisible force sapping his magic and had tried several times to devour it. Of course, it had been useless. Though the Sky Dragon's Godslayer magic took the form of lightning, its essence was the power of a god. Only after being struck by the superconductive wave and having his magic power nearly drained did Laxus throw caution to the wind and attempt to use himself as a vessel for that godly thunder. He wanted to win that badly. It was somewhat like Natsu swallowing the fire god's power on Tenru Island. It might succeed, but at a terrible cost. "Idiot!" Makarov barked from a safe distance. Even if a dragon slayer can take in elements of the same attribute, Chess's magic has other properties. One small mistake could cripple you or kill you outright. Beneath the old man's fury, there was genuine fear for his grandson. Natsu, however, looked excited in a disturbingly callous way. When Urza told him Laxus was a dragon slayer, he'd been more thrilled than alarmed. Heh heh, what would an Iron God slayer be like? Gajeel smirked, just as eager. Both of them were promptly swatted aside by a suddenly enlarged hand, Makarov's giant magic, accompanied by the old man's roar. Are you two even listening? You'll get yourselves killed. Guildmaster, be gentle. They're injured, Mirajane murmured, biting back a laugh. Don't worry, I'll patch them up later. That's a small matter compared to this. Urza's expression had gone stone cold. She watched the battlefield and frowned. Hidden beneath Laxus's supposed control, there was a violent surge of magic. Her concern was answered in an instant by a blood-curdling scream. Ah! Crimson lightning erupted from inside Laxus, replacing the familiar gold. The godly energy corroded his nervous system. Needles of pain lanced through every muscle. Even someone with Laxus's constitution writhed, veins bulging, rolling on the ground in agony. The scene looked eerily like Natsu after he'd swallowed the Tower of Paradise's magic crystal. This is the price you pay for trying to digest a god's power, Chess said, a weary sigh in his voice. Laxus's attempt to absorb the superconductive wave had been reckless, but not wholly unreasonable. In temperament, he was a lot like Natsu. Reckless, stubborn, the kind who rush into things without thinking. That was why, when controlled and loyal, they became the guild's most dependable fighters. Still, this time, Laxus had done it out of pride. He wanted to win and to prove himself. Chess watched Laxus writhe without making a move to exploit him. He wanted to see how far the blonde could go. Quietly, he set a contingency in place. After a hellish moment, Laxus forced himself upright. He stomped, blood dripping from his lips, and stood tall. His pupils were gone. An eerie red glow shone from his eyes. Scales thickened along his arms, chest, and jawline until they almost looked like real dragon hide. Chess. Laxus snarled up at the sky, clutching the crackling energy gathering in his hands. I'll take your power and make it mine. Dark crimson arcs flared, and a scarlet magic circle bloomed beneath him. Thunder condensed into a spear of red lightning, then Laxus gripped it and roared, Dragon Slayer's secret art, death pierce of the Thunder God Dragon! The instantaneous destructive aura froze every member of Fairy Tale. Even from a distance, the strike felt on a different scale from anything before. Lucy's face drained of color, her fists clenched uncontrollably. Mira and Urza felt their magic surge, ready to act, though each suppressed the urge. Out of trust in Chess, they held back. Makarov, ever the judge of battles, watched intently and quietly, as if he'd already seen the outcome. Some gaps, like the depth of a man's conviction, aren't easily bridged. Laxus couldn't hear that. He only saw himself stamp the ground and hurl the spear with all his remaining force. I won't be brought down by someone who can't even see their own heart clearly, Chess said, resigned. He didn't dodge. He didn't need to. The crimson spear tore through the air like a comet. Chess held his ground and at the last second released his stored magic. Magic cylinder. A brilliant circle of light flashed and two radiant cylinders materialized beside him, hanging in midair. The death pierce drove straight into the left cylinder. Cracks spidered across its surface as it strained to contain the energy. The right cylinder swung toward Laxus, its mouth trembling. If I remember correctly, Chess said calmly, a dragon slayer can't eat their own magic. He smiled thinly, then reached out and grabbed the right cylinder. The strain was more than it could bear. The cylinder shattered with a thunderous sound. The feedback shredded the skin of Chess's right palm. Blood poured freely, but he still held fast to the death pierce. Want a taste of despair? Chess said, eyes locked on Laxus. The smile on his face was small and terrible. In a heartbeat, the situation flipped. Now everyone feared for Laxus's life. Laxus screamed, I'm the strongest! I'm the strongest! This time the cry was frantic, edged with impotence. Despite himself, he felt the crushing weight of Chess's power. Chess did not waste time. He flung the spear back at Laxus, but he adjusted the angle deliberately. He wanted to force Laxus to release Fairy Law, to confront his own heart. He also wanted to make sure no one else was irreparably harmed. He'd closed the distance and come into instant kill range for a reason. He had, from the moment they'd reunited, secretly given everyone a fail-safe, multiplying Kuriboh. If anyone's life-saving effect triggered, Chess knew he would be forced to take Laxus's life without hesitation. That grim contingency was the core of why he'd approached so close. The crimson lightning detonated above the battlefield with an earth-shaking roar. A mushroom cloud of red-sparked smoke rose over the outer suburbs of Magnolia. Bystanders and tourists watched, wide-eyed, as the sky and ground were briefly consumed by the blast. When the dust settled, there was only a vast, scorched pit. In its center, Laxus lay, hair matted and torn, body battered, his steps unsteady as if he might collapse at any moment. Even with Chess aiming off, Laxus's constitution had allowed him to survive blows that would have killed most people. Footsteps approached through the silence. Makarov's voice was steady and heavy. "Surrender, Laxus. You've failed." The blonde lifted his head, looking past Makarov and Chess to his comrades, Lucy, Levy, and the others. He saw the complex worry on their faces and felt, in the sharpest way, the humiliation of being judged by those he'd always believed himself superior to. "Surrender," he muttered. "I failed. Impossible. I'm the strongest. I'm the strongest." He couldn't bear it. He pressed his hands before his chest, eyes wild. The fairy tale magic circle flared above the battlefield. Pillars of golden light erupted from the earth and began to enclose them all. "Stop it right now, Laxus!" Makarov cried, stepping forward to use giant magic to halt him. Chess cut him off with a look and moved instead, walking into the ring of light toward Laxus. His face was calm, but his gaze was unflinching. "Come on, Laxus," Chess called out. "I'm standing right here." Their eyes met. Laxus's last defenses crumbled. Rage and wounded pride twisted his voice. "You, the old man, those weaklings, die! All of you, die!" He pressed his palms together. Fairy Law activated. Chapter 170, Curtain Call. After the holy light, nothing happened. Everyone blinked on reflex, their faces still frozen with the confusion and terror from the moment Fairy Law had been invoked. Chess, whose palm had been coiled with lethal magic power, ready to finish Laxus, felt no reaction from the protective Kuriboh shielding his companions. He let out a long, private sigh and eased the power out of his hand. That Laxus, no matter how despicable his actions had been, was someone Chess wasn't willing to eliminate. The blonde had, after all, come back to himself in time and had been instrumental in many of the guild's crises since. His strength ranked among the top, and whether for personal reasons or for the guild's sake, Chess couldn't watch him degrade into someone like Sabretooth's G-Man. Looking at the result now, the guild's proud, gruff powerhouse had not disappointed. How is this possible? Fairy Law is a super magic that eradicates all enemies. Why are you all still standing unharmed? Laxus's face was twisted with disbelief. Even if his magic was near exhaustion, even if the power had waned, he was certain the spell had taken hold. "Fairy Law only affects those the caster perceives as enemies," Chess said, stepping forward so Laxus could see every person standing behind him. "Isn't it obvious? In your heart, you didn't see us as enemies to be destroyed. Magic doesn't lie. Whether it's me, Natsu, the others, or even a novice like Lucy, we're your comrades. That's the truest thought buried inside you. Wake up from your childish delusions, you stubborn bastard." Chess's words were blunt and oddly moving. Lucy felt tears prick unexpectedly. Though seriously, could he not call her out by name at a moment like this? And not even mention Happy, she could almost hear the guild cat's offended mew. Laxus ground his teeth, eyes rimmed red, his face torn. Fairy Law didn't lie. He felt the truth stirring inside him, and it enraged him. Tiny bolts of electricity skittered across his wounded skin as fury and shame battled within. Yet, strangely, he made no further move. He simply stood there until the tension fizzled into an awkward stillness. Then Chess noticed. "He's passed out? Someone get him some first aid." He waved for help. A brief, stunned silence fell over the group. Kana's delighted shout cut through it first. Oh, Laxus lost! We won!" The others erupted. They hoisted Chess onto their shoulders, tossing him up and catching him in celebration. Laughter and banter rolled across the square. "That was a real manly fight, Chess. Well done. I told you Chess never disappoints. You'd better believe I'll win the next strongest tournament." I think so too." Most of them smiled brightly despite their injuries, savoring the pure relief after a storm. A couple of faces, however, lingered in the shadows, nursing grudges. I was counting on Laxus to win so I could make some money. Macau mournfully watched Kana and the others divvy his bets. Gambling addicts never learn, huh? Kana jingled the notes happily. Lucy darted forward. So by we won, you meant we won money. That's why you were so excited. Typical fairy tale. Even amid aftermath, there was always something to tease. Under Makarov's guidance, the group returned to the guild back at the end of town. No one had life-threatening injuries after the internal clash, but Porliusica, Fairy Tale's potion consultant, was indispensable for checking and treating wounds. The cold-tempered old woman, human counterpart to Edeliza's Sky Dragon Grandini, kept everyone unusually well-behaved. Out of respect or fear, they all sat quietly while she went through them sternly. Chess, who'd gone all out against Laxus, played down his injuries as just a bit of wear and tear, and immediately got scolded into compliance. While Porliusica worked, Makarov called the Magnolia Mayor's office to postpone the Harvest Festival's grand finale, the Fantasia Parade, until the next night, and to discuss compensation for the damages the conflict had caused. With the Heartfilia Consortium's backing, the old man spoke with new confidence, no longer hesitant and apologetic. The parade's postponement spread like wildfire. Officially, the reason given was the guildmaster's health. Town gossip ignited. Some insisted the next guildmaster would be Makarov's grandson, Laxus. Those who'd known him since he was a kid proudly claimed they'd held him. Others hoped for Urza, citing her seriousness, sense of justice, and not least, her beauty. As for guildarts and chess, two of the strongest, people subconsciously wavered at the thought. The idea of someone with guildarts mode or chess's rules in charge made them twitchy. Night fell. The internal conflict was over. After Porlusica's obligatory ministrations, Chess headed back to his new home. He'd been delayed by a private talk with Makarov about Laxus. When he opened the door, the living room was lit and several figures were already there. "Yo, Chess, welcome back!" Natsu, mostly bandage-wrapped, grinned. Urza, out of armor and in casual clothes, offered a steaming cup. "Would you like some tea?" she asked. "Sorry to be a bother," Lucy said with guilty eyes, while Happy, perched nearby, put on a sheepish face. "We didn't trespass. We were going to Lucy's place, but she said your place was bigger," Happy reported. "Yeah, that's right," Lucy rushed. "That's exactly it." Chess sighed inwardly, but didn't mind. He preferred the noise to a quiet house. He took the tea and asked, "Where's Gray?" "Here." The bathroom door creaked open and Gray, lounging in a bathtub and looking perfectly unembarrassed, waved. The sight made Lucy go bright red. Urza merely noted Gray seemed a little stronger. "So what's the guildmaster going to do about Laxus?" Natsu asked cheekily. "He's going to make him wear a maid outfit and scrub the city clean, right?" Everyone's ears perked. Urza and Lucy leaned forward, Gray glanced over from his tub, and Chess finally set his cup down. "The guildmaster's decision is the same as I recommended for Laxus. Expelled from the guild." When Chess finished speaking, the living room fell completely silent. They had guessed how it might end, but hearing it stated plainly still left Lucy and the others stunned. "Expelled from the guild? You can't be serious." Natsu was the first to break the silence, his voice rough with anger. "Laxus is infuriating, sure, but we were fighting. He's still our guildmate." Until now, Natsu had thought Chess was joking about expelling Laxus. "This punishment is way too." Lucy stood frozen. She hadn't known Laxus long enough to be friendly with him. His arrogant, dangerous glare unnerved her. Still, he was the guildmaster's grandson. Wasn't this a little extreme? Urza sat more composed, head bowed over the warm cup of tea in her hands. Gray, who had been in the bathroom, stayed quiet as well. "No way. I'm going to see the old man." Natsu jumped up and strode for Makarov, all instinct and impulse. Happy, Natsu's companion, looked torn, whether to stop him or to go along. "Give it up. The guildmaster made his decision. This isn't up for negotiation. It's for the good of the whole guild," Chess called after him. "But," Natsu stopped, then spun around. "In your eyes, Laxus was just trying to prove he was the strongest, but this was done with the intent to hurt comrades. He dragged all of Magnolia into it and broke the guild's one iron rule. That's unforgivable." Natsu's throat worked as if he had more to say. Chess's expression hardened. If someone like that can stay in the guild as if nothing happened, then the next person to leave will be me. It was clear to everyone that Laxus had to go through something like this to change, from petulant and proud to someone truly reliable. In the Tenru Island incident, he'd shown growth by training outside the guild and stepping out of the old man's shadow. Makarov must have been in terrible pain to make such a call. Chess didn't want Natsu to charge off and make things harder for the old man. Hearing Chess speak so seriously knocked the fight out of Natsu. He muttered, "Damn it," and slammed his fist into the nearest wall. Cracks spidered across the plaster. Lucy glanced at Chess with new eyes. She hadn't expected him to be this resolute. Urza sighed, resigned. Keeping Laxus in the guild was no longer an option. Actually, this might not be a punishment, Chess softened. Even if he leaves, there will be a day we meet him again. At least, that's what I believe. When that day comes, we'll sit down and share a drink with him. Whether he took Chess at face value or pictured a reunion in his head, Natsu's mood lightened. A grin slowly spread across his face. I don't want to drink with him. When I get super strong, I'm going to beat Laxus in a one-on-one. Ever the enthusiast, Natsu waved his fists and bounded off. Fighting, fighting, fighting. It's all you ever think about, Lucy said, half exasperated and half amused. The tension on her face eased. She couldn't imagine Chess leaving the guild. Maybe influenced by Natsu's sudden cheerfulness, she gave a little dreamy blink and let her mind drift. Happy saw straight through the cute daydream. He flopped his arms out and teased. No way, Lucy. No matter how much time you get, you'll never beat Laxus. Hey, can't you let me have one nice dream? Lucy protested, cheeks reddening. Urza, she's complimenting us on being polite, Happy chirped as he burrowed into Urza's arms. Lucy clenched her fists. One day she swore she'd hang that stinking cat up by his tail and give him a good scolding. The dark cloud from Laxus's expulsion began to lift, the room growing lively again. Chess cleared his throat. Since everyone's here, want to see the partner I just made a new contract with? You got another card? Gray, freshly out of the bath and wrapped only in a towel, sauntered over. Is it a dragon? Let it out, and I'll fight it. Forget dragons. I want a strawberry monster, Urza said, resting her chin on her hand with a mock-serious look. Chess hasn't had a cute creature like that yet. The gap between a giant dragon and a strawberry monster is kind of huge, Lucy observed. When did you get this new card, Chess? Lucy asked. She'd always thought Chess's cards were like celestial spirit keys, summoned partners from another plane. But during the internal conflict up to Laxus's defeat, she hadn't seen how Chess could have obtained new cards. Happy, sprawled on Urza's chest, shifted and explained. Ah, Lucy lady, while his cards look like normal cards, Chess's magic is actually called Duelist Soul. He can get stronger cards through fierce battles. Hearing this, Natsu, Gray, and Urza nodded calmly. They'd known for some time. Lucy gaped. How did you all accept and get used to this? She blurted. Because it's magic, Gray said, deadpan. Lucy, you're hopelessly naive. The guild library has tons of books on magic. You should read up when you get a chance, Urza added seriously. Lucy was speechless. Could the mountain of books back home really have missed this? As the Heartfilia heiress and the daughter of celestial spirit mage Layla, she'd grown up surrounded by books and scrolls. Yet somehow she always gave the impression of being the guild's resident simpleton. A sudden dark golden light cut through Lucy's inward doubts. Chess held a brand new card between his fingers. He traced a circle of runes and drew from the chaos the card that had been birthed during the internal conflict, the same strange thing that had emerged from Laxus alongside his dragon slayer nature. Chains jingled. A bronze-colored limb appeared, exuding an ancient, oppressive aura. It wasn't the giant dragon Natsu had expected, nor the strawberry monster Urza had joked about. It was the left arm of the Forbidden One. Chapter 172, I Didn't Expect You to Be Such a Dragon Slayer. A strange aura hung in the air, and the ancient demon god's arm, faintly glowing with golden light, immediately drew everyone's attention. This is the left arm of the Forbidden One? Lucy's pupils tightened. She was the first to name the card. Having just experienced a god draw with Yugi Muto's deck that morning, her memory of Exodia the Forbidden One was fresh. That's right, Chess nodded, a flash of excitement in his eyes. Although it was still far from completing the set, and a single card couldn't do much, it was one step closer to the legendary Dark Magician, Exodia. Even without any special effects, The infinite attack and defense stats were more than enough to set it apart from ordinary god cards. It's symmetrical to the equipment you used before, right? It doesn't look that special. Gray examined it for a moment, then on a whim clapped his hands and used Ice Make to form arms that looked identical. Seems perfect for a brawl. He swung the ice-made arms and amused clenched his fists. Decided. This move will be called Demon God's Crushing Fist. Chess's mouth twitched. He really wanted to tell him that was a bit premature. Wasn't Ice Devil's Zero Crushing Fist from Ice Devil Slayer magic? So fast. Isn't that a little hasty? Lucy was genuinely shocked by Gray's speed. Sealed or not, let's go. Hey, left arm, come fight me. Natsu was even more direct, raising his Fire Dragon Iron Fist, ready to scrap with the left arm of the Forbidden One. In his book, anything summoned by Chess was worth testing in a fight. It's just an arm, come on. Lucy shot back instantly. Hey, left arm, if I throw you in the river, can you help me catch fish? Happy asked politely. Lucy, is there any causal relationship in that? I can sense a powerful aura different from other magical equipment. Urza blinked, pointed at the left arm, and looked to Chess. Chess, can we dismantle it and take a look? Skilled with requip, she'd seen Chess use similar equipment and was curious about its construction. If she could analyze it, maybe she could commission the guild's blacksmith to make something to boost her fists. Most of her gear were swords and blades, after all. You said something terrifying so calmly, Urza. Lucy hugged herself, a little frightened. That was Exodia's arm, after all. Oh, I'm sorry. That was presumptuous. Urza suddenly realized she'd overstepped, stood, and bowed toward the left arm in apology. Her earnestness was part of her charm. Taking it apart isn't possible, but you can try equipping it. Chess raised his hand, pointing to the magic circle slowly rotating at the arm's end. Just put your left hand into the circle. Although card spirits, the Forbidden One pieces lacked self-awareness and seemed like equip cards when taken alone. Still, they were part of the Dark Magician, and the chains carried intense sealing power. Even with the deckmaster's permission, anyone else would need to resist a strong effect to use it. Chess kept that in mind and didn't dwell on details. I'll go! Lucy shot up, thrilled. As a new, weaker mage, she always dreamed of showing off in front of these monsters. Following Chess's instructions, she plunged her left hand into the magic circle and donned the left arm of the Forbidden One without hesitation. How does it feel? Gray asked. Lucy didn't answer in words. The blush on her face said it all. So heavy, too heavy. I can't lift it. Darn it, even just lifting it a little would be fine. Determined not to lose face, Lucy strained with every muscle, eventually grabbing with both hands and even using her feet to pull at the suspended arm. The result was predictable. She twisted her waist and fell flat on her back. Pfft! Ha! You fell for it! Chess couldn't help laughing at last. Lucy, clutching her hurting back, sat on the sofa, cheeks puffed in indignation as she glared at him. Chess, you jerk! It's just an arm! Is it really that heavy? Gray walked up casually, glanced at Lucy, and then slipped the left arm on. Celestial magicians' physiques are really... He started confidently, then paused as the sealing power slammed into him like a mountain. His expression warped from effort, and sweat beaded on his forehead. Spotting Natsu's lip twitching, Gray let go instantly. Ah, I suddenly remembered strong people are supposed to be the finale, so fire-brained idiot, your turn. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Don't use excuses only Lucy would use. Natsu's taunt came out before Gray could finish. Idiot! Explain yourself. What do you mean, an excuse only a weakling would use? Gray snapped. Lucy sniffled quietly. She felt deeply affronted. Haha, just watch from the sidelines, Gray. I'll show you the gap. Natsu rolled up his sleeves and shoved Gray aside, swaggering toward the left arm. Then he proved the cruel truth. He wasn't a bit better. Even with the fire dragon flames boosting him, the left arm didn't budge. Ha! All that talk and you can't either, Droopy Eyes. Darn, Droopy Eyes, you couldn't lift it either. At least I know my limits, unlike some people who put on a show. Want to fight, you bastard? Who's afraid of who? Before they knew it, Natsu and Gray had their foreheads pressed together, about to erupt into their usual brawl. Then Urza spoke in a low, clear voice. It's fine. The weight's perfect for training you two who always want to pick fights in someone else's house. Whoosh! The gust of her punch ruffled Natsu and Gray's hair and calmed their rising tempers. Urza, You misunderstood. We were bonding. That's all. The two instantly clung to each other. Natsu nearly turned into happy number two. She equipped it so easily, as expected of Urza. Lucy couldn't help exclaiming. Even Chess looked surprised. It wasn't that Urza couldn't use a piece like that, given her strength, but she'd swung it with an almost effortless grace that made Chess blink. Then he noticed the truth. Under her armor, Urza's muscles were tensed, her magic power circulating. She was working hard to maintain the image of the unshakable fairy queen. Chess smiled wryly, snapped his fingers, and the left arm vanished. Exposing Urza's strain would be fun, if they weren't in front of Natsu and Gray. Since we're all here, I might as well introduce another new companion. Chess pulled out a new card under everyone's curious gaze. 7-star card monster, Dragon Slayer. He'd completed the contract with Dragon Slayer while being treated at the guild, but hadn't gotten to know him properly yet. Ah! Making an entrance. The magic circle flared, and Dragon Slayer strode out like the rough, ready type. Bold steps, shining armor, a uniquely jagged dragon fang greatsword, and an oppressive aura that screamed strength, or so it seemed. Cute little sisters with amazing figures, and there are two of them. Dragon Slayer blurted at the sight of Lucy and Urza. Even with his helmet on, 2 pink hearts practically popped out of it. Ah, this feeling is oddly familiar. Lucy instinctively took 2 steps back. Hello, Dragon Slayer. Urza greeted him unflustered. Chess's mouth twitched, and he covered his face. He hadn't expected this from the Dragon Slayer. He'd been perfectly normal when they signed the contract. Chess, is this because you're male? Happy drifted over, pointing at Dragon Slayer, who had started hitting on Lucy and Urza. Wow, he looks really strong. Natsu got excited and charged with his fire dragon iron fist. Hey, ragged swordsman, let's fight. Dragon Slayer moved aside lazily and swatted Natsu with the hilt of his sword, leaving him unconscious on the ground in one blow. Huh? One-hit KO? Lucy gasped. Urza's eyes narrowed. She saw the details and her expression grew serious. This guy, he's strong. Chess couldn't help smirking. Apart from Natsu being weak in internal fights, hadn't Natsu, a Dragon Slayer mage who could dragonize, just tried to pick a fight with an actual Dragon Slayer? It was like a professional matchup, no contest. Dragon Slayer ignored the fallen Natsu and went back to ogling Lucy and Urza. So ladies, are you both single? Moo. I want to ask that too. Golden light flashed, and Taros, the perverted bull with heart-shaped eyes, popped out, snorting excited steam from his nostrils. Lucy and Urza's figures are incredible. Oh ho, someone can actually match my tastes? Dragon Slayer replied. Of course, I'm very particular about beautiful women. Taros bellowed. Ha, you're a good one. What's your name? I approve. Dragon Slayer said. Taros, celestial spirit of Taurus, brother, Taros declared. I am Dragon Slayer, brother, Dragon Slayer replied. In a dozen seconds, the two perverts had forged a deep and instant bromance, shaking hands as if they'd been born to meet each other. Lucy, Igneel, awakened inside Natsu, amid Dragon Slayer's endless little brother and Taros's matching big brother, what had been a simple new partner introduction quickly devolved into a lecherous sworn brother ceremony. It was even cross-species. Chess and Lucy, as their masters, were mortified. They quietly shepherded the two troublemakers back to their own worlds. All right then, Chess, I'll head off now, Lucy said after some useless small talk. It was getting late, and although Chess had plenty of spare rooms, her rented house was just across the river, and staying with Natsu and the others always felt awkward. Natsu and Gray's earlier teasing had lit a fire under her competitive streak. She planned to secretly train with the Black Magician's training manual and astonish everyone. But first, she had to write today's fairy tale civil war into her adventure novel. Glancing at the unconscious Natsu sprawled on the floor and Happy scratching around, she couldn't help a small, nostalgic bitterness. When had she last had any privacy? Was it since Chess's house was demolished, or way back at the Phantom Lord incident? Never mind. When she got home, she'd open a can of fish to celebrate. I'll go with you. Urza suddenly stood up, interrupting Lucy's thoughts. Wait, Urza, don't you live in Magnolia? Lucy blinked. To be precise, the girls' dormitory on the mountain in the southeast corner, Happy piped up. As the only male allowed in that forbidden area, he knew all about it. Huh? Girls' dormitory, Lucy repeated, puzzled. Our guild has a dorm? So all that rent for 70,000 J meant she was rich? Happy's eyes glittered. Just so you know, dorm rent is 100,000 J a month. He'd read Lucy's thoughts at once. Lucy's mouth twitched. 100,000 J would have crushed her. If you have time, I can show you around. Levy and Lockie's rooms are a riot, and Juvia's room, she just moved in, it's worth seeing. Happy kept up an enthusiastic sales pitch. Oh, and there's a public bath on the second floor. Perfect this weather. Lucy's interest brightened. Really? Then, tour guide fee is 10,000 J. I'll give you a 5% partner discount. Get lost. Lucy launched a kick with no warning. Happy, greedy as ever, shot up into the air, hit the ceiling, slid down the wall, and collapsed in the corner like a blue-tailed sack. Cats really were invertebrates. There'll be time to visit later, Lucy. Let's head home now, Urza said, as if nothing had happened. So, Urza, why do you suddenly want to come with me? Lucy asked, baffled. If I had to give a reason, I guess? A whim? How casual. Was that too abrupt? I'm sorry. No, it's fine. At least it's better than staying in a room with Natsu and Happy. Relieved, easily swayed, Lucy accepted Urza's company and they left for her rented house. Not long after they left, Gray yawned and trudged toward the stairs to the second floor. I'm exhausted after fighting all day. I'm going to sleep now, Chess. He walked straight over the fallen Natsu without even stepping around him. These guys treat this place like their own home. He disappeared up the stairs. Chess sighed and ignored it. He washed the tea set on the coffee table, took a long hot bath, then hauled Natsu from the floor and Happy from the corner and lobbed them onto the sofa. Both stank of sweat. They were unfit for the bed, not even the guest room. He turned off the light, climbed to the master bedroom, and lay on the big bed. He was bone-tired after the Civil War. The duel with Laxus had left its marks. His muscles ached. Still, the biggest internal conflict in the guild had been settled. At last, he could work on the all-partner power-up plan. He closed his eyes and slipped into the inner deck space of his consciousness. Stars speckled the sky, silvered by a cold moon. In a desert of drifting yellow sands stood a grand palace of ancient Egyptian style, the domain where Black Magician lived. Inside the spacious hall, Black Magician, cloaked in black, stood on a stone dais with his arms crossed. Before him, a magical image screen played footage of the guild members' battles, dozens of spliced recordings taken by the Kuribohs, leaving nothing out. At a workbench nearby, Black Magician Girl sat wearing light blue spectacles etched with tiny magic circles. The glasses, a device like the Windsong lenses, could capture multiple streams of image information at once. The pale, youthful face, pink robe, and intellectual glasses made her look adorably earnest and just a touch more mature. Master, you're here! Black Magician Girl leapt up at the sense of Chess's presence, thrilled. Slaving over the workbench had been boring. She'd been waiting to slack off for ages. I just remembered and stopped by to see how you're doing. Chess nodded and walked to the bench. I have a general direction for development, Black Magician said in his deep voice. But it'll take more time before the plan is complete. If it were just 1 or 2 people, it would be simpler. Since this involves every core member of the guild, even I, he paused to look at the footage scrolling by, have to put in a lot of effort. Chess knew how much work it entailed. Thank you for handling it. It's nothing. I have free time. Black Magician's eyes were grave as he watched the battles. Behind Chess, Black Magician Girl's face fell into a pout. In her head, she muttered, I'm not free. I want to go out and play with Mira. She didn't voice it, but Black Magician caught the thought and glanced at her with a patient, serious look. Moreover, he continued, shifting his tone into a lecture aimed squarely at his disciple, these combat records are invaluable for studying the magical structures and operation of other worlds. Magic grows by learning from the strengths of many, by combining what's strong in different paths to carve your own. That way we can reach further, touch places once unreachable. His monologue stretched on, earnest and endless. Chess had seen enough. He understood Black Magician well, cool and aloof in front of others, but once magic was involved, he could talk forever. He quietly slipped out of the deck space before his ears grew calloused from the lecture. Black Magician Girl watched Chess vanish, rooted to the spot. She wanted to cry, but couldn't bring herself to make a sound. Chapter 174, Lucy's Progress, Celestial Spirit Robe. The next day at the Fairy Tale Guild, the mood was as loud and rowdy as ever. Even though that nasty incident yesterday had left some guildmates nursing fresh wounds, the Harvest Festival hadn't passed yet, and everyone who could usually take jobs had gathered inside the guild to drink, boast, and wait for the grand magic parade that evening. The only mercy was that, after yesterday's brawl, they'd limited themselves to verbal sparring and teasing rather than immediate fisticuffs. For Fairy Tale, this kind of chaos could almost be called harmony. They're really a bunch of reckless idiots. I told them not to order this much when they're hurt. Mira sighed as she returned to the bar in a wine-red dress, setting an empty plate down. With bodies like theirs, they won't manage to drink themselves to death, Chess said with a smile from across the bar. Mira shot him a look, saw the large beer mug in his hand, and her pretty brows knitted. She planted her hands on her hips in mock sternness. You too, Chess. Chess blinked. Mira didn't usually police her teammates' drinking, so the sudden seriousness surprised him. He shrugged and obligingly put down the mug. Lucy, sitting nearby, watched the whole exchange and couldn't help shaking her head. Even she could see what was going on. Mira simply didn't want her time with Chess interrupted, and Chess was oblivious. Lucy considered herself hopeless at romance, far worse than Natsu or Gajeel, but she noticed things about other people with surprising clarity. Maybe that's why the best relationship experts are the ones who've never been in love. Mira relaxed when she saw Chess set the drink aside. By the way, Chess, during yesterday's brawl, didn't you secretly record the whole thing with Kuriboh? She asked. Mira had discovered Kuriboh's existence when she bested Freed, and she'd figured out why Chess would so casually let everyone go at each other. He wasn't actually unconcerned. He'd filmed the fights. Yeah, I recorded everything so Black Magician can check for ways everyone can improve, Chess said. Mira's lips curved into a small smile. You always care about everyone. Haha, of course, and selling them a well-organized training guide afterward makes a nice profit, Chess added offhandedly. 100,000 each. Mira's smile froze. What? I thought it was free. Chess waved a hand magnanimously. Don't worry, Mira. Yours is free. You helped a lot with the new house. Lucy, who had been eavesdropping, shrank into her seat and craned away from Chess. She had been the first to get the training guide and did not want to be asked for 100,000. That sum was a disaster for someone with only a few thousand in savings. Even if she technically belonged to one of the richest families, she was currently low on cash. Mira, for her part, was obvious in another way. Her magic power was low. She would nearly collapse after a single surge of demon soul. If she could overcome that bottleneck, sustain multiple demon forms at once, she'd become incredibly powerful. Chess had noted that, which was why he thought training data would be valuable. Opening a second magic origin that stored more power would be ideal, but such theory didn't yet exist in this world's magic studies. Even someone like Ultir wouldn't have a ready answer. Lucy, Mira said idly, you told me you'd made a training plan for her, didn't you? Lucy froze. Mira had outed her. Cornered, she skittered over to Chess, flipped her hair, lifted one leg, and struck her best attempt at a sweet, cute pose. Kind Chesky, the bond between siblings can't be measured in money. You won't charge me, right? Ches blinked and went completely deadpan. Well, since you were my test subject, I didn't intend to charge you from the start. I can't be responsible if anything goes wrong. Lucy's smile vanished. So I was just a test subject on your road to profit? Ches started laughing, and Mira joined in. Happy was right, he said between chuckles. Lucy is really easy to fool. Mira laughed with him. Looks like it. Cho Pai Lao, go to hell, Lucy snapped, her face turning into a painful scowl. Spittle flew across Chess's face. Brother-sisterly affection at its finest, Happy said, standing atop the bar with his arms spread. Chess accepted a tissue from Mira and wiped his face, glancing at Lucy. His voice went quiet and serious. Whether it's Lucy or anyone else in the guild, I genuinely want you all to become stronger, so you can protect yourselves. That short sentence completely deflated Lucy's anger. Chesje, if you're too weak, there's no fun in beating you up, he added lightly. So that's how you protect people. Lucy shouted, reignited with indignation. Recalling Chess's full-power stance from their fight and remembering the big resolution she'd made last night to grow stronger, her motivation wavered. The thought of facing Chess at full strength suddenly made that grand ambition feel shaky. Mira's voice cut in. "By the way, Lucy, how's your training going?" Lucy hesitated. "Well, it's not like there's been any huge breakthrough." Her eyes flickered with guilt, but the truth was she'd made solid progress in just over a month. The guide Chess had given her was genuinely helpful. Coming from the Heartfilia line of celestial spirit mages, she had talent and had worked hard. When Loki had given her a travel voucher to the resort, Crux of the Southern Cross had told her about the Celestial Spirit Robe, an advanced application of celestial spirit magic that channels a spirit's power into the user. Lucy was already qualified to attempt it. Since the Celestial Spirit Robe worked similarly to requip magic, she'd asked Urza a lot of questions the night before. With Urza's guidance, and after many attempts, she'd finally succeeded, at least partially. She'd entered the Celestial Spirit Robe, Canis Minor form, and gained a trembling, tremor-like power. It wasn't much, barely an increase in combat capability, but it gave her a huge sense of accomplishment. She had been planning to find Chess to share the news today. Now, seeing him across the bar, she felt too embarrassed to brag. In the Canis Minor form, she was nowhere near ready to take a hit from Chess without being sent flying. Chapter 175. So what the hell am I getting emotional about? Just as Lucy was about to shrug it off, the sound of combat boots thudded on the floor and footsteps approached. When Urza, clad in armor, walked in slowly, Lucy's face drained of color. She panicked and pressed a finger to her lips, shushing everyone. "How is it, Lucy? Did Chess praise your improvement?" Urza asked, oblivious to Lucy's frantic gesture. She'd been remembering how excited Lucy had been the night before and couldn't help smiling. "I didn't expect celestial spirit magic to have an application like a celestial spirit robe. With the right use, it can definitely produce unexpected combat power." Lucy was speechless. "Celestial spirit robe?" Mira cocked her head, blinking. "Ah, Lucy didn't tell you?" Urza found it odd and quickly summarized what had happened the night before. "Wow, Lucy, you've gone pretty deep with this." Chess's eyes lit up. He'd known that under the Black Magician's training plan, Lucy would be much stronger than she had been in the original timeline. But he had expected, at best, the ability to open multiple gates for longer. He never imagined she would actually create a celestial spirit robe this early. His usual cold, fighting glint in his eyes flickered into something more like a hungry challenge, and Lucy, terrified, scrambled backward to put distance between them. She had nowhere to retreat. Urza blocked the other side. "Lucy, quickly change into a crab so I can see." Natsu bounded over at the commotion, eyes sparkling with anticipation for the celestial spirit robe. His sense of direction, however, was predictably off. "A crab? I'd rather see Lucy turn into a fish," Happy added, hand already raised. Whether he was teased by Natsu or merely revealing his true thoughts, the drool at the corner of his mouth said it all. "Hey, Lucy, why didn't you tell us about this sooner? This is something Happy should have known about earlier." Gray arrived, notably bare-chested and very conspicuous. "Gray, put some clothes on," Mira said with a smile. "Huh? When?" Gray blinked, suddenly alert. The commotion grew. Levy, Kana, and others came over to see what had happened. Surrounded, Lucy took a deep breath and made a decision. Since joining the guild, everyone had treated her well. She ought to share this joy with them. If Chess wanted to beat her up for showing off, so be it. She stood and, with a fatalistic look in her lovely eyes, announced, "Open! Gate of the Minor Dog, Plu." The magic circle flared, and Plu tumbled into view, trembling. And then, Celestial Spirit Robe, Minor Dog form. Lucy turned her palm. The silver key on her fingertip lit up. Expanding magic circles swallowed her. When the light faded, her blue and white shirt and short skirt were gone. In their place was a pure white leather catsuit, full body, with a little dog tail. A yellow, cone-shaped nose ornament, identical to Plu's, stood out against her fair face. "Oh my god! It really is like re-equip magic, though this looks kind of weak, totally unrelated to Urza's monstrosity. Still, so cute. Lucy-chan looks adorable." The guildmates swarmed in, alternating between exclamations and merciless teasing, their favorite pastime. Juvia was the most dramatic, muttering through clenched teeth. "Die, love rival, trying to seduce Gray-sama again." Her resentment so intense the air around her felt gloomy. "Shh, it's just a change of clothes. I thought she'd actually transform." Natsu pouted. Even the name Celestial Spirit Robe should have given you a hint, Lucy snapped, the yellow cone on her nose wobbling comically. It's not a transformation. Let me test your cold resistance, Gray said, clasping his hands as cold air hissed from his palms. Are you a devil? Lucy protested. Aye, Lucy, come and eat a lollipop. Happy produced a lollipop with a mischievous grin. I may be wearing a dog suit, but I'm not a dog, Lucy shot back. Plu, however, trotted over and happily grabbed the lollipop from Happy, licking it contentedly. Lucy stared and had nothing left to argue. I say, even if you're a little rude, you should still show Lucy some respect, Chess said as he strode over and examined her outfit. Plu was among Lucy's most useless spirits, a pet more than a fighter, yet the Celestial Spirit Robe gave off a faint but genuine magical aura. It was clearly a successful application of Celestial Spirit power. Lucy had mastered a future ability ahead of time through sweat and effort. Ches raised his hand slowly and then reached out toward Lucy. Thinking he was about to strike, Lucy flinched and closed her eyes, bracing for impact. Come on, Ches, I won't cry, she declared, spreading her arms in resignation. No blow came. A gentle touch stroked her head. Cautiously, she opened her eyes. Silly girl, Ches said, an almost rare soft smile on his face. You must have worked hard to pull this off. Ches, Lucy's expression melted and tears sprang to her eyes. Hey, Natsu, Lucy's being so dramatic. There's no way Ches would be in the mood to fight right now, is there? She's so full of herself. Exactly. Even I don't want to when she looks like that, Natsu and Happy whispered loudly, and too loudly. Everyone in the guild heard. Lucy wanted to die of embarrassment. So what the hell am I getting emotional about, she thought. Seeing her crestfallen face, Mira stepped in with a comforting smile. It's okay, Lucy. I really like the outfit. Wear it in tonight's magic parade, and you'll be a hit. Lucy started crying again, this time from a different kind of emotion, then brightened at the realization. Wait, Mira, I get to be in the magic parade too? Yes, because so many people were hurt during Laxus's internal conflict. Anyone who can move has to take part, Mira explained. But I'm just a newcomer, Lucy said shyly, though the excitement on her face only grew. The magic parade was a big annual event. Are you worried or secretly happy? Gray teased, seeing right through her. Juvia, can Juvia be in it too? Juvia hurried over at the mention, drawn by the chance to perform. Yes, that was the guildmaster's decision this morning, Mira confirmed. Juvia beamed and clenched her fists energetically. Juvia will work hard to put on the best performance with Gray-sama. Hey, I never agreed to that, Gray protested. So cute, Kana laughed, sipping her drink. Macau and Wakaba lowered their heads, disappointed. They'd been planning to ask Juvia to join their act. The conversation shifted away from Lucy's Celestial Spirit Robe to plans for the parade. Teammates were picked, acts discussed, and the guild buzzed with excited chatter. It was a rare, harmonious moment. Then a figure wrapped entirely in bandages appeared in the doorway. Heavy footsteps cut through the lively noise, silencing the room. Laxus? Hey, you heartless bastard. How do you even have the nerve to show your face here? After everything you did, don't think we'll forgive you that easily. Get out. The moment they recognized him, the rest of the guild fell away from smiles to suspicion. Even though fairy law had made it clear Laxus had no more intent to kill, what he'd done before was unforgivable. If it weren't for Chess, none of them knew how it would have ended. Laxus looked older somehow, hardened overnight. Under the barbed stares and curses of former rivals, he didn't explode or argue. He simply walked forward with a tight expression. Natsu saw the dullness in his eyes, felt his throat tighten, and forced himself not to run up. After what Chess had told him the night before, he knew staying back was probably best for both the guild and Laxus. For a second he stood frozen, torn between stepping forward to challenge him, speaking up to keep him, or perhaps doing both. Laxus went straight to the bar. He glanced warily at the indifferent Chess, then around the room, and asked Mira in a low voice, "Where's the old man?" That sent everyone into an even louder uproar. They accused him of still daring to look for the guildmaster and did their best to block him. A few hotheads even started charging magic in their hands. Urza raised her hand, commanding their attention. The old ferocity was gone from Laxus's face, and it was safer to let him meet Makarov alone. Some things had to be settled. Mira, usually so gentle, gave him a cold look. He's on the second floor. Urza had the same thought. Laxus said nothing more and headed for the stairs. Just as he was about to climb, Chess called out from the bar. Hey, you damn blonde. That fight yesterday was pretty satisfying. We'll have another go sometime, yeah? Laxus paused, then lifted his right hand in a casual salute. The corner of his tense mouth twitched into the faintest smile where no one could see. Exactly as he'd wanted, that damned card guy. He didn't linger. He turned and disappeared up the stairs. While the guild muttered and pointed, Gajiel, also wrapped in bandages, came down from the second floor. He'd been up there reporting Raventail's current location to Makarov, Raventail being the Dark Guild where Laxus's biological father, Ivan, was. To atone for Phantom Lord and repay Makarov for believing in his potential, Gajiel had volunteered to infiltrate Raventail as a double agent, gathering intel and watching Ivan's movements. Gajiel, I have good news, Juvia said excitedly. As a former Phantom Lord member, she treated him kindly. We can take part in tonight's Fantasia parade. But Juvia will be with Grey Sama, so she can't team up with you, she added, emphasizing the point. Gajiel waved a hand, looking for a place to sit. I'm not interested in that kind of thing, he muttered. He wasn't just any old Phantom Lord soldier. He had ruined Fairy Tail and even tried to hurt Levi and the others. That sin made him feel unfit to represent the guild in a celebration. Showing his face in public might still cause problems. Natsu, grinning, poked him. You don't really like singing, do you? It's awful to listen to. Thanks to everything they'd been through together, Natsu understood Gajiel better than anyone. He knew the surly Ironhead wanted to belong. If it's awful, then don't listen, damn it, Gajiel snapped. Who wants to listen? When the time comes, I'll stay far away from you, you heap of scrap. I already said I'm not taking part, Fire Dragon bastard. You want to fight or not? Bring it on. Bang! They were at it instantly. Gray shook his head. They fight at the drop of a hat, like a couple of children. Lucy covered her face, unable to help herself. Even Urza, who had been wary of Gajiel before, watched the pair with a resigned expression. Many of the others, remembering how Gajiel had used his body to shield Livy from Laxus's lightning, had begun to accept him. From that moment on, Gajiel was officially one of them. In a way, he owed Laxus a big thank you. Stop squabbling, Chess said, standing and looping an arm over Gajiel's shoulder to keep them apart. Gajiel, give me a favor. Give you a favor? Gajiel scowled. I said I'm not doing the Fantasia parade. And who the hell are you to tell me that? Why should I play for you? Gajiel snapped. Chess smiled faintly, and the room quieted. Even Natsu stopped and sighed inwardly. Gajiel's bravado faltered. Chess? Wait, what I meant was, before he could finish, Chess launched a rising dragon fist. With a single move, he flipped Gajiel clean over and sent him crashing into the far wall. Dust, sand, and stones exploded across the hall. Chess walked over to where Gajiel lay in the rubble, hands on his hips, and leaned down with a smile. Since you're part of Fairy Tail now, drop those boring hang-ups about reputation. Nobody here cares about that. Gajiel's mouth twitched. He froze, wrestling with himself for a few seconds before blushing and turning his head away. Fine, but I'm warning you, I can't promise I'll keep up with your rhythm. Typical Iron Dragon. Even when giving in, he stayed stubborn. Don't worry, Chess said. Just follow the sheet music I give you. Chess's eyes lit with mischief. This new piece, even Natsu and the others haven't heard it yet. It's not something just anyone can play. Look forward to it. Chapter 177, Magic Parade. Speaking of Chess, are your injuries really okay? Mira asked, frowning with concern. Yesterday's strongest battle, the one that leveled most of the suburbs, was still vivid in her mind. She especially remembered Chess bracing himself against Laxus's final attack, the Thunder God Dragon's ultimate technique, and the lightning that had scarred his arm. If not for Porlusica's treatment, he might not even be able to move properly now. Just a scratch. A good night's sleep fixed it. Chess waved her off. Mira smiled but didn't say anything. She stepped forward and with a fair, perfect finger poked Chess's firm biceps. Hiss! The calm on Chess's face vanished. He couldn't help the involuntary gasp. With Porlusica's medicine and his own healing ability, a casual touch shouldn't have hurt. Chess usually let Mira touch him because it didn't. She had just played a little trick, though. She'd laced a tiny amount of magic into her fingertip. See? Don't get too full of yourself. Mira narrowed her eyes into slits, smiling triumphantly. Let this big-talking old man act tough in front of me. Lucy, who had watched the whole thing, felt a fresh chill of respect for Mira. If Mira were Chez's girlfriend, Lucy thought Chez would be doomed. At that moment, a cool magic circle blossomed with a pop, and Black Magician Girl, wearing a blue and pink robe, appeared in a shimmer of light. She flung herself into Mira's arms before she could even stand properly. Done with work? There's still a lot to do, but I snuck out early because I have to prepare for tonight's magical parade. As one of Magical Weekly's most popular models, Black Magician Girl was naturally a highlight of the parade. Many fans had turned up just to see her. Her popularity showed in how Marcus's merchandise featuring her had completely sold out. "Where's Mr. Black Magic?" Mira asked. "I invited him before I came, but he flat out refused," Chess answered, spreading his hands. Mr. Black Magic was aloof by nature and rarely came to the guild, much less performed on the street. "That's a shame." Mira feigned disappointment. But Grace scanned the guild members. Most of them still had bandages in places and wore the tired look of people who'd just been through a war. "Are we sure it's wise to have the magical parade so soon?" he asked. "You have to trust the guildmaster's decision," Urza said, her face solemn but determined. The usual warmth in her expression had been replaced by a fierce, knightly resolve. "We can't disappoint the people who are counting on us." "Aha! I'm fired up! This time I'm going to cover the whole street in flames," Natsu roared. "Meeting the residents' expectations is one thing, but your cover the street in flames idea is too dangerous," Lucy scolded, half laughing, half serious. Inspired by Urza and Natsu, everyone else brightened. The energy in the guild wound up to full power as they thought about the parade that night. Laxus, having received an unmistakable notice from the old man, didn't show up. He had quietly left through the back door earlier, carrying his things. Outside, Magnolia was alive. Locals cosplayed as Happy and Plue. Tourists carried fairy tale merchandise. Kids ran and chased each other. Old folks ambled along with grandchildren perched on their shoulders. Laxus walked the streets in silence, taking in the cheerful bustle that no longer felt like his. Memories of childhood rose up, especially the time at Magnolia's Central Park, where he and the Thunder God tribe had said goodbye. For a number of reasons, and because Freed and the others had shown real remorse, Makarov had been less severe with them than with his own grandson. The Thunder God tribe had been allowed to stay with a milder punishment, but Laxus had refused their company. As the sun had set, Freed and the others had watched him walk away, tears in their eyes. They didn't know when they'd meet again, but they believed they would. Time flew. Night fell. Bang, bang, bang. Enormous magical fireworks burst into the sky, painting it with color and declaring the official start of Fairy Tale's annual magical parade. Cannons boomed and dreamy special effects, stars, hearts, circles, rained through the air. The floats left the Fairy Tale Guild and moved slowly along the route through Magnolia. The streets were packed, and the cheers rose and fell like waves. At the head of the parade rolled an oversized Happy doll, followed by a small platform where Kana stood in a cool outfit. She raised a finger, and the fortune-telling cards that orbited her leapt into the air, transforming into a shower of glittering light swords. Macau and Wakaba fired their magic in time, and smoke arrows tore through the swords, tracing the words "Fairy Tale" across the sky. The dazzling opener had the crowd wild with excitement. "Dad looks pretty good like this," Romeo called from the crowd, grinning. Behind Kana, a jungle set showcased Jet and Troy pretending to battle monsters, while Marcus and Alzak marched through in hunter gear, as if in the wilderness. Then, the stage shifted into a parade of beauties. Lucy, Biska, and Levy wore gorgeous dresses, their ribbons fluttering as they danced, drawing a storm of ogling from the audience. Golden light flashed, and at the center, Lucy transformed into the adorable, silly-looking star dress of the canine constellation. Star dress, stunning everyone. "Sob, sob, it's so wonderful. I never thought I'd see this," the Heartfilia household staff cried on the sidelines. Grandma Stella, who had watched Lucy grow up, wept openly. In the original timeline, the Heartfilia Consortium would have been bankrupt by now. In this world, that fate had been averted. Jude, wearing a happy mask to avoid drawing attention, had tears streaking from his eyes. He clung to the miracle of this moment, whispering a quiet thanks to the memory of Layla. Following Lucy came Elfman, who boasted the soul of the Beast King and bellowed loudly, frightening the small children into tears. Mira stole the show in her own way. She emerged from the petals of a blooming lotus and, with a flourish, transformed into a giant python fitted with a tuft of hair, absurd and spectacular. Her fans were momentarily stunned, but Black Magician Girl soothed them, hovering on her magic staff and drawing hearts in the air around the snake. Her adorable finishing pose brought the crowd back to its feet. The Ice Castle float rolled forward next, with Gray and Juvia at the front in matching deep blue outfits. They exchanged a knowing glance and raised their hands in unison. Water surged, snowflakes fell, and formed the signature fairy tale tail in crystalline frost. "So cute. Is that Juvia Gray's girlfriend?" An older woman in the crowd whispered, eyeing Juvia like a prospective daughter-in-law. She'd only recently become guild master of Sabretooth and had slipped out under the pretense of business, even dipping into guild funds. Sabretooth, she decided, was lucky to have her. Beside the float, Lamia Scale members Lion, Sherry, Yuka, and Toby watched the stage. Lion looked at Juvia with dreamy adoration, and Sherry returned the gaze. The older woman's expression twitched. This was more complicated than she expected. The performers kept coming. Urza, in a fresh outfit with 4 long ponytails, Natsu and Happy, marching along a path of controlled flames, a whirling quartet on a 3-story miniature castle, and Lockie and other fairy tale girls showcasing elaborate wooden contraptions, all of it feeding the crowd's delight. Then a sudden symphony cut through the festival's gaiety. The music itself was powerful and stirring, but the players stole the show. The Iron Dragon Gajeel, in a white suit and black sunglasses, sat on a steel platform. "Hey, open your eyes. Next up is the passionate duelist," he announced. With a snap, Gajeel lit a blue magic circle. A throne of steel rose, and golden light burst outward, blinding and brilliant. From the heart of that light, a hurricane of magic spun up a distinctive silhouette, and a tall figure became clear. Ches made a grand entrance, flipping a Yu-Gi-Oh card between his fingers. 3 streams of light, dark blue, red, and gold, shot from the card and coalesced into 3 massive spectral phantoms high above the parade: Obelisk the Tormentor, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and the Winged Dragon of Ra. They were only magical projections, but their sheer presence left some tourists shivering and taking a step back. Local residents, however, had long ago learned the Ches rules and were already keeping a safe distance. The crowd far off breathed a sigh of relief. Ooh, so cool, damn you, Ches," yelled someone. "You made a huge scene, scared me." "Pay up," another joked. "I'll give you a like just because it's a special day." "Don't get the wrong idea, it's not like I like you," a third shouted. Once the spectacle proved harmless, the distance crowd relaxed and cheered. Among them were familiar faces: Dave from the Magnolia Tavern and his little helper Tom, Lambert the merchant ship owner from Asaroba, magicians from the Black Griffin. After Ches and Gajeel, the final act was Guildmaster Makarov. His comic costume and antics sent the audience into fits of laughter. Bang, 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 a massive burst of fireworks, sponsored by the Heartfilia Consortium, exploded overhead. It was the signal. All of the fairy tale members performing, Makarov and Ches included, stopped what they were doing, raised their right arms high, and made the gesture that meant, "I will always protect you." No one had made a point of finding Laxus among the crowd, but everyone believed he was there. And as the guild formed that gesture, meant to carry unspoken farewells and blessings, someone in a dark alley watched. Laxus, the blonde-haired man who had walked away earlier, had slipped into the shadows. He had seen the fireworks, seen the raised arms, and now, unable to hold it in, was sobbing uncontrollably. Chapter 178, Urza's Change of Heart, Sasala's exclusive interview. A week had passed since the wildly popular magical parade. The guild had returned to a quieter rhythm during the Harvest Festival wrap-up. A few members with minor injuries were already back to taking requests and earning money. Ches, bored out of his mind, was among them. He'd taken an S-class job to subdue a lava monster. He hadn't been after the cash so much as the chance to stretch his legs and maybe pick up a new card. The job turned out to be a disappointment. The lava monster was easy. He finished the request in 3 days, 2 of which were travel, didn't get a new card, and managed to trash a stretch of the client's natural forest, losing more than half his reward to compensation. The whole mess even made the front page of that day's Magic Weekly. On the bright side, the Miss Fairy Tale pageant had a crowd favorite. Black Magician Girl took first place with her adorable style. That prize money softened the blow. Urza came in second and pocketed 300,000, while Lucy got a pennant for third. It's weird, Chess grumbled at the bar. When did S-Class requests get so simple? It's because you're too strong, Mira said, setting a cup of fresh milk tea in front of him. If Lucy heard you say that, she'd be crushed. Lucy, who'd returned from a mission with Natsu and the others the day before, sat with them looking oddly glum. Their reasons for taking jobs differed, and so did the difficulty of their tasks, but Chess and Lucy shared the same disappointed expression. Mira found the parallel amusing. Thanks, Mira. I heard it, Lucy protested, waving her hand. Jealousy and envy were obvious, but when she thought about Chess's lava monster, she felt better. Ha! Don't be so down on yourself. You've learned Star Dress. Taking S-Class requests alone isn't impossible, Chess said, patting Lucy on the shoulder. No one in the guild knew Lucy's potential as a celestial spirit mage better than he did. If she used Star Dress well, she could at least rival little Urza. Lucy repeated his words softly, and a vivid image popped into her head. As an S-Class mage, she'd be so intimidating Natsu and Gray would cling to each other and go, love like happy. She smothered a naughty little laugh. The thought was intoxicating. Oh my, I didn't expect you to dream so big, Mira teased, watching Lucy's expression. The conversation derailed when Bixlow, mask off, sidled up and shouted from behind. Hey, Lucy, I hear you've been getting close to Loki. Are you two dating? Happy popped his head out from Bixlow's shoulder and shrieked, Having an affair! Having an affair! The 5 puppet dolls behind Bixlow echoed him in unison. No, we're just partners like everyone else here, Lucy blurted. Bixlow glanced at Mira behind the bar, and embarrassingly, his face went soft. I just think Lucy, a celestial spirit mage, and Loki, a celestial spirit, are very fated. Mira covered her face as though she couldn't bear the sappiness. Mira, Lucy gasped. How cruel, making Mira cry. Happy grinned wickedly and added fuel to the fire, and Lucy awkwardly tried to comfort Mira while fighting the urge to shut Happy up. Fried ambled over and sat beside Chess, handing him a thick book. Chess, this is the text magic volume I promised Black Magician earlier. Please deliver it to him. The book was invaluable for studying and analyzing the magic of this world, one reason Fried had sided with Black Magician during the civil unrest. No problem. Chess took the book and couldn't help teasing Fried's shaved head. That look actually suits you. Fried's mouth twitched. He'd shaved his head to show remorse and his intent to atone. It was a public promise to the guild, and it had helped Makarov drop his rash plan to resign over the Laxus incident. Around them, the guild buzzed. Natsu and Gajeel were back to trading blows with words. Gray sat quietly opposite Juvia, Evergreen posed theatrically for Lidiz's painting, and Macau and Wakaba debated earnestly over which street in Magnolia had better-looking girls. Everyone seemed unnaturally relaxed, and Chess frowned. Something felt off. Come to think of it, he murmured. Where's Urza? Everyone else was in the hall. Urza should have been here keeping order. Mira stopped wiping a glass and frowned. Urza hasn't seemed herself these past few days. Lucy's face fell. It's because of Mistogan. During the Civil War, when Laxus had attacked, Urza had seen Mistogan and seen a face identical to Jalal's. Mira, now recovered from her melodrama, tilted her head. Urza's probably on the 3rd floor. She's been staying in the guild a lot lately. Chess headed for the roof terrace, a small garden of flowers and green, where Urza often went. She stood at the railing in her usual armor, chin resting in her hand, looking down at the busy streets of Magnolia. You came, she said without turning. Chess? Urza sounded surprised. I heard from Lucy and Mira. Ches leaned on the railing beside her. Are you still worried about Mistogan and Jalal? Urza's pupils constricted. She tried to dismiss it, but her voice came out as a sigh. It's hard not to be. Their faces are the same. It makes things complicated. Ches watched her, then spoke with the sort of calm certainty he usually reserved for poking fun at people. Back on the Kiltina continent, people talk about parallel worlds. There's a weather phenomenon called animus. Mistogan's been looking for it for years. It might be a doorway to another world. If I'm right, Mistogan could be Jelal from another world. The idea seemed to steady Urza. Relief softened her tense expression. If Mistogan and Jelal weren't connected by blood or some kind of thought form, there was no awkwardness tied to shared features. Chess nudged the conversation forward. So, Urza, how do you feel about Jelal now? Urza stared at the horizon, thinking. I don't know how to put it, she said at last. I feel tremendous pity. I don't think he should spend the rest of his life in prison. She still blamed herself for not freeing Jelal's heart sooner. A cool breeze picked up her crimson hair, and Urza's face looked peaceful, yet sad. Chess grinned and teased. Isn't Jelal supposed to be your secret crush, according to Simon and the others? Urza's cheeks flamed. That was ages ago, she stammered, flustered. She couldn't explain why. When she'd seen Jelal at the Tower of Paradise, she hadn't felt the sharp excitement she'd expected. Instead, she'd felt heartache, and somehow more concern for the injured Chess. The blush on her face deepened. Enough of that, she snapped, then straightened. Sosala from Magic Weekly is coming for an exclusive interview today. I have to prepare a gown. The guild's image is at stake. In a flash, Urza was gone, the fairy queen of fairy tale off to get ready. Chess scratched his head. Her reaction had felt different from what he would have expected. He'd come to gossip and instead had found Urza composed, almost changed. Back in the main hall, Kana, pleasantly tipsy and smelling faintly of alcohol, had sidled up to a corner table where Lucy had ducked to escape Bixlow's theatrics. I really want a boyfriend, Kana sighed, face flushed. There haven't been any men around lately. I just want the warmth of skin. Lucy's face went scarlet. The warmth of skin? Kana squinted at her. Why are you so red? Have you been hiding something? No, Lucy babbled. Of course not. Kana leaned in conspiratorially. How many boyfriends have you had? Lucy's eyes darted. She tried to look innocent. 3, she lied without conviction. Kana, half-drunk and sharp-eyed, peered right through her. Then, with dramatic solemnity, she pulled a fortune-telling card from her sleeve. The cards say today you'll meet your fated man. Lucy froze. Her heart did a crazy little skip. Just then, Urza swept past in a gorgeous dress, Requip proving its usefulness for the ladies, and Gajeel, absurdly dashing in a white suit, trailed behind her, throwing an electric beat from a small amplifier. Why is she still in a dress? Didn't the Harvest Festival just end? Lucy asked aloud. Mira glided past with a tray and smiled. Sosala's coming for an exclusive interview. Lucy's brain exploded. Sosala, the Magic Weekly reporter, appearing here meant everyone would see her in their most glamorous light. And Kana's card said fate would send her a boyfriend today. The image of meeting the perfect man on the cover of Magic Weekly, looking radiant, Lucy couldn't resist. She shot out of the guild like a comet, determined to primp and dress until she was a heroine straight out of a romance. Chapter 179, A Fated Encounter. The fashion magazine shop in Magnolia smelled faintly of paper and perfume. Lucy pushed the door open and began scanning the shelves for the latest issues. Back at her rental house, she hadn't been satisfied with the hairstyle Caesar had given her and wanted to try something new, so she'd come looking for inspiration. As she ran her fingers along the spines, a title caught her eye, A Fated Encounter. Kana's fortune-telling from earlier flashed through Lucy's mind and her eyes widened. Was this a coincidence? A sign? If she bought it, would someone else reach for the same book? Curiosity and a bit of romantic impulse made her hesitate only for a moment. She reached with her right hand, the one with the fairy tale emblem stamped on the back, when suddenly another broad hand shot out from the side. Their fingers brushed as they both closed on the magazine. Lucy yelped and pulled her hand back as if it had been burned. She glanced sideways and saw a handsome man in glasses and a satchel. He looked refined, calm, and genuinely apologetic. "Ah, sorry. You take it," he said, handing the magazine to her with a gentlemanly smile. Lucy was about to decline politely when she looked down and saw the cover. A handsome man and a beautiful woman posed in a wash of pink and soft light. Her breath caught. "What?" No, I don't need it. Here, take it," she blurted, shoving the magazine back into his arms and fleeing the shop without looking back. Even though she owned outfits bold enough to shock Urza, when it came to her own romance, she became a wickedly stubborn block of wood. Meeting a strange man like that was way too sudden, she muttered, head bowed as she hurried away. Wait, are you from around here? The man called after her. She stopped. He had followed her outside and was watching with a hopeful expression. I like to travel and collect interesting stories for my writing. Could you show me around this magic city? I won't let you do it for free, he added quickly, producing the very magazine they'd both reached for. Consider this a gift. You write too? Lucy blinked. She wrote, secretly, adventure stories inspired by fairy tale. Hearing someone else say they collected stories for fiction made her chest twist with suspicion and excitement. Could he be the fated person Kana had mentioned? I'm not really a novelist, more of a writer, the man said with a smile. My pen name is Lazy Calf. May I ask yours? Lucy froze. She dreamed of seeing her stories serialized, imagined fame and success, but she hadn't even settled on a pen name. I just write casually, she stammered. I don't have one. Thinking of the reporter from Sorcerer Weekly who should be arriving any minute, Lucy panicked. Sorry, you should find someone else, she snapped, and without listening to his answer, she turned and hurried off. She went back to the guild in a turmoil. Her hair looked better than before, but everything inside felt the same. As she stepped through the doors, she found a thin man with a camera slung around his neck, frantically taking pictures of chess, who was posing in increasingly ridiculous stances. Cool, 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 the photographer gushed. As expected of my savior, Mr. Chess is always awesome. Do the pose from Irmo Relic Island, where you protected the tourists during the evacuation. Yes, that back view. Cool. Lucy recognized the man, Jason, the weekly reporter from Sorcerer Weekly, also known as Sasala. He was everything her imagined fate wasn't. Loud, obsessed with every little detail, and clearly in love with the guild's chaos. Yeah, his name's Jason. He comes by a lot, Urza said, coming up beside her. She had changed back into armor. I can't stop him. He insists this look is the most authentic fairy queen. Jason darted around, snapping shot after shot. Urza, how many armors do you have? Over 100. Cool. Which is your favorite? The bunny armor. Those ears are cute. Cool. Favorite food? Cheesecake and souffle. Cool. Lucy watched Urza answer effortlessly, and Jason dance with excitement and felt a little twinge of determination. This was her chance to get into Sorcerer Weekly. She smoothed her hair, forced a confident smile, and stepped up to Jason, fanning herself lightly to attract his attention. It's so hot. Why's the guild so lively today? He turned, and Lucy struck a careful pose to catch the camera's eye. Instead, Jason barreled into her with a cheerful, Happy, happy. Why are you blue? Because I'm a cat, she muttered. Cool. Jason crowed and continued interviewing everyone else. Gray about his shirtless tendencies, Kana about drinks, Macau and Wakaba. He took notes even when Natsu's antics sent him flying, and even Juvia, who joined after Lucy, got special attention. When Natsu and Gajeel began brawling, Jason grinned and took it all in, even absorbing a couple of stray punches with the pleased enthusiasm of someone covering war zones. Lucy felt invisible. Heartbroken and exhausted, she slipped out of the guild and dragged herself back toward the fashion magazine shop. There, by the river, she found the glasses-clad writer again, sitting on a low wall, scribbling in a notebook. With her spirits low and her pride bruised, she stopped overthinking fate and invited him to tour Magnolia, not because she believed in destined meetings, but because she admired his work. He thanked her repeatedly. Led by Lucy, the local, they toured the newly repaired cathedral, the southern park square, and the little riverbank where Natsu and Gray had torn the place up as kids. They talked about writing and books and characters. After half a day, they felt like old friends catching up. When they parted, he thanked her and invited her to a barbecue place in the north for a late-night snack. Lucy agreed, but at the arranged hour, he never showed. Meanwhile, news came from Mira. Natsu and Happy had found an easy, low-damage job and wanted Lucy to come along. After a long moment's hesitation, she followed her heart and hopped on the night train with them instead. At the station, seeing Natsu slumped in his seat and periodically vomiting, she felt equal parts disgust and relief. There was nowhere she'd rather be. Hey, Lucy, you're smiling weird. Don't give yourself wrinkles, Natsu teased. Where's a mirror? Help me find one, Lucy exclaimed. I was only kidding. Natsu grinned. Dead cat, don't ruin my sentimental mood, she shot back, but the relief warmed her face. As they bickered quietly, a small blue-haired girl carrying a book threaded down the aisle. The magic book was 1/2 meter tall and blocked her view. She and the trio brushed past each other without a word, each on their own path through the night. Fairy Tale Guild. It's so quiet, I don't know what to do with myself, Lucy said, sprawled across the bar, a soft sigh escaping her lips. She'd just finished a job with Natsu and Happy yesterday. It had been unusually uneventful, but after train fares and food were deducted, she'd walked away with a pitiful 7,000 yuan. That was only 1/10 of the rent, and that didn't even include Natsu and Happy's shares. It felt like she'd done the job for nothing. Then go find work. Want me to help? Mira asked, wiping the edges of the bar with a rag. Natsu said he wanted to rest for a couple days, Lucy said. You could take a solo job or ask other guild members to come with you, Mira suggested, setting the rag down. Besides, you're a team. If you get others, it shouldn't be awkward. Lucy blew out a soft breath. She'd thought of that, of course, but she couldn't find anyone she trusted as much as Natsu and Happy. Mira grinned. You two are practically lovers, you know. Again? Please stop, Mira, Lucy protested, eyes wide and pleading. Rumors about Bixlow had only just died down. She hadn't forgotten the glasses guy from last week. Now Mira was pushing Natsu? Just then Lucy turned and saw Natsu and Happy on top of the bar, contorting into ridiculous poses to make everyone laugh. Sparkling heart effects, Mira's favorite, suddenly swarmed her head, and she could feel her cheeks warm as Mira teased, Maybe he really does like you. I haven't seen him fuss over any other girl like this. No way, Lucy snapped. Still, a bizarre mental image popped into her head. Natsu all handsome and soft, set against Juvia-like romantic effects. She flailed mentally to get rid of it. Two people holding hands in a pink meadow, birds and flowers. No, absolutely not. Her heart raced, she waved her arms and laughed awkwardly to chase the thought away. Mira just smiled to herself. Sure, she was right. Whoa! A more enthusiastic cheer rose from the bar. Chess, who'd just come in, leapt up and joined Natsu and Happy, shaking his hips and striking even more flamboyant poses. For a moment, Fairy Tale's S-class mages looked ridiculous. Urza, standing nearby, sighed. Natsu's his usual self, but Chess, why are you joining in? Chess flashed a grin. Urza, want to join us? Urza shot him a cold look and answered flatly, No, that's embarrassing. Come on, Chess pleaded. Even S-class mages need to loosen up sometimes. The moment the words left his mouth, the guild erupted. What right does the guy who made the Black Mages training program make us pay have to talk about balance? Someone shouted. Yeah, we all paid. Why should he be partying? If that training plan doesn't work, I swear I'll haunt you when you're a ghost, Chess. Normally, no one would scold Chess like that, but people's wallets were involved. After the Civil War, the Black Mage and his apprentice had drawn up personal cultivation plans, and Chess had sold them to guild members. When Macau and Wakaba first heard they had to pay, they grumbled. But when Laki paid and showed off the results, everyone changed their tune. Those guys were more afraid of their mates falling behind than of spending coin, worried their friends would end up worn out, or suddenly rolling around in expensive cars. Once the dominoes started, everyone handed over money and Chess cashed in, so their grumbling now had teeth. Canna slurped her wine and interrupted, Be glad you could buy a tailored plan for that price. Hey, I wasn't going to waste the money. I at least get to yell at Chess for it, someone answered. Why are you defending him, Kana? Another asked. Because Chess lent me the Book of Secret Arts for free. I'm stronger now. Kana spread her arms, cards circling her like a show-off. See? Much stronger. Damn! Macau and the others had noticed Kana's improved card magic, and begrudging as they were, had to admit it. Determined not to be outdone, they hurried off to practice, suddenly fired up. The noisy guild space quieted as they left. It feels weirdly calm, Chess said, dusting off his clothes as he jumped down toward Mira. How about we take an S-class job to stretch our legs? An S-class request? Move our muscles? Lucy stared in awe. With her current strength, she couldn't even imagine being called on for an S-class mission. She knew the rewards for S-class jobs usually started in the hundreds of millions. She practically drooled. We actually got a notice this morning, Mira said. She reached into her wine-red dress and pulled out a request form. She unfolded it, and the first thing everyone noticed was the scarlet double S stamped at the top, the mark of extreme danger. Below it, an egg patterned with strange runes sat amid a swirl of black mist. The request title read, "Investigate and resolve the abnormal ancient magic egg." Chess skimmed the details, thought for a beat, and reached out for the sheet. "No problem, I'll take it." SS class requests didn't come through Fairy Tail often. They required strict scrutiny by the Council and approval from Master Makarov. The rarity and guaranteed hazard aside, one other detail had Chess's attention: the location. It was the same place shown in the movie Phoenix Priestess, Boundary Forest.